The following podcast may contain adult language and an abundance of salt. So get ready, nerds, because it's my week to pick the movies. Welcome and thank you for listening to another episode of the Salty Nerd Podcast. I'm your host, the Salty Nerd, and today's episode, it's my turn. And we are going to be watching some freaking awesome movies.
Why does Kadish hate him?
He hated all of these.
The 2001 Tomb Raider, starring Angelina Jolie. Office Space, also 2000 movie, right? I think that's the year it came out. Early 99 or 2000. Yeah, 99. And last but not least, The Boondock Saints. So thanks for joining us. As always, I am joined by my awesome panel of nerds, starting with the master of all nerds, the barbarian space Viking, Matt Vader, 74.
Yeah. What's up, guys?
How you doing, buddy?
How are you, man?
Good.
Looking forward. I had a good time this week.
Good. I did too.
You are a good picker of the movies.
Oh, thank you.
Unlike that guy sitting next to you over there, who enjoys torturing us every week with his garbage movies that he makes us watch. See our other shows this week for more information.
I'm also joined by the firecracker herself, ambassador of estrogen and nicest lady on the internet.
Oh, thank you.
Jude, welcome to the show.
High praise.
And last but not least, the producer of the show, the hardest working nerd that I know.
He is.
And the most generous guy that I know. He's bought me so much stuff, it's weird. Matthew Kadish, welcome to the show.
Greetings and salutations.
But has he bought you the lobster?
And happy birthday.
No,
I've not bought.
The lobster.
I don't even buy her lobster.
Bought you the lobster?
No.
Hey, Alex, let me take you out. I'm going to buy you a lobster. Alex is like, I don't want to go.
Lobster.
I'm not going. I'm busy.
I'm going to get you a lobster for your birthday.
No.
I love inside jokes. Those are the best.
Oh, boy. Yeah, our patrons will get that one. All right, guys. Like I said, we're going to be talking about some awesome movies today. Before we do, a quick word from our sponsors. Welcome back. All right, the first movie on my list today is the 2001 awesome video game movie, Tomb Raider, starring Angelina Jolie.
There's
Jude.
no such thing as an awesome video
This
game.
is an awesome video game.
You are not right.
You are wrong, sir.
You are wrong, sir.
Jude, do you have the synopsis?
I do.
Roll tape.
All right. 2001, Lara Croft Tomb Raider, rated PG-13 with a runtime of 1 hour, 40 minutes. It had a budget of $115 million. What would you guess that it brought into the box?
$300 million.
Okay, Vader.
280.
274.
Nice.
Boom.
So, on the anniversary of her father's mysterious disappearance, Lara Croft finds a clock hidden in a secret room in her mansion. The clock is counting down to something triggered by a planetary alignment. The clock is only the first piece in a puzzle that brings Lara and the Illuminati to Siberia and allow the person with all the pieces to alter time. Okay, I have a personal note.
Oh, okay.
After this.
Go for it.
Video game movies have a very low bar for me, so based on that, it's a 4 out of 5 convoluted plots and shitty scripts.
Wow. Again, she's not right.
No, this is a great movie. Okay, so I'll explain. I can't think of one single video game movie that I've ever lost my mind over. So the bar is very low for me. So, however, that being said, in this realm of video game movies, it's top notch. Mm. It's still a shitty movie. Please continue. Okay. So I'll just, because I had a very special reason why I picked these movies this week. Obviously.
But before we get into that thing, I just want to say that this is your birthday week.
Uh-huh.
The show is basically, we have a tradition on the podcast where if it's your birthday, you get a week or two to basically pick the movies. And
they gave me 2.
Yeah. And we have no say in what movies you get to pick because it's your week.
Yep.
So happy birthday.
Thank you.
Congratulations for choosing these movies. I can't wait to rip into them.
Remember, we only got like hour and 45 minutes.
Yeah.
Okay? So
I would expect nothing less from my crew.
Yeah, we're not doing another 3-hour podcast.
The crew of salty nerds is not going to go easy on these movies, even though I love each and every one of them. And I'll just get it out of the way now. They're all 5 out of 5s for me. All right.
Of course they are.
Of course they are. Okay, so this week was actually really tough for me because I knew I was like, okay, I got to pick movies that like mean something to me, that kind of like they are who I am growing up. They molded my young mind as a young nerd. And you know, I was trying really hard. Like, I can't do any franchise movies. We already talked about Star Wars. I can't do The Lord of the Rings because we're going to save that. Can't do Pirates of the Caribbean because we're going to save that. Like, I tried to stay away from anything that was like part of a major franchise that we're going to talk about eventually on the podcast. So I had to boil it down to movies that were kind of one-offs and or just movies that I binge watch all the time that are like on my list of rotations of like, oh, I haven't seen that in a couple months. I'll watch it again today. And Tomb Raider, because when I was growing up, like 12, 13 years old, I was a huge Tomb Raider video game player. Like, I owned all the games on my PlayStation. I used to play them nonstop. I love Lara Croft. I love the puzzles. I love the atmosphere of those video games. And when they made a video game movie, everybody knows you already pointed out, the reputation that video game movies have.
Did they have that reputation when this movie came out?
Yeah, because they had Mortal Kombat and stuff like that already out, and stuff. What year did Spawn come out? Was that after or before this?
I believe that was 97.
Yeah, so that was before this.
Also, you had a bunch of Uwe Boll video game adaptations coming out, like what was it, Island of the Dead? And
they had the Mario Brothers movie that came out too.
Mario Brothers,
yeah. So at this point, video game movies were like terrible, and I felt like this one. I felt like this one was a notch above, mostly because of Angelina Jolie and her charisma that she has on screen. She is Lara Croft. She nails it. She's so perfectly fit for this character in this version. I know there's two different versions now because the game has been updated in like 2013 or something. But the old school Lara Croft that I played, this is perfect. This is true to form. Exactly who she is in the video games is who she is in this movie. She's that charismatic, carefree, a little rough around the edges. You know, she's snarky. Perfect. Angelina Jolie plays it perfectly. The locations that they go to in this game, I feel like I've been there in the video game or in the movie. I feel like I've been there in the video games and I've solved these puzzles and I've done this. Like, so it was very true to form for me. I felt like it lived up to the expectations that I had from playing the video games to seeing it in live action. So that's why I picked this movie, because I feel like out of all the crappy video game movies that are out there, this one's a bit above.
I was very pleased you picked this movie this week.
Did you enjoy it?
I really like this movie. It's been a long time since I've seen it.
Yeah.
And I enjoyed the crap out of it because it's like you said, it's a really good video game movie. It was inspired by this. It's got kind of a Indiana Jones kind of thing going on, but they didn't like just steal Indiana Jones stuff. You know, it was very much a Tomb Raider movie, and I loved it. I had a great time with this movie. It was like I sat down, I was like, oh man, Salty's gonna make us watch these terrible movies. And I didn't really feel that way about any of these movies you picked this week.
Good.
Once I got into them, and it was fun. Angelina Jolie is great. You know, I love the side characters in this movie. You know, I had a good time with Ian. What's his name? The guy who played Jorah
Mormont.
Yeah, he was in this, and James Bond is in this, and they're all very much younger. You know, and I like the characters. It was fun. It was a fun story. It wasn't super like complicated to figure out. It wasn't convoluted. They moved the story along. You know, the cheesiest part of this whole thing was the last part when they were in the room with the
solar system globe thing.
Yeah. But it was fun.
Yeah.
And I just, you know, the Illuminati and all this stuff. It was cool.
Yeah.
I had a good time with
that solar system globe thing. Yeah. I think it was number 4, Tomb Raider number 4, the last Revelation or Revolution. Yeah, Revelation. That was legit. A game, you know, or a level that I played. I
never played these games. These games were kind of coming out when I was not I wasn't being a nerd back then. I was more interested in other things at the time. But I'm glad we watched it because it was fun. I wouldn't mind going back and playing some of these games if they remastered some of these.
There is Tomb Raider Anniversary, which is a remaster of the first video game.
Yeah, that would be fun.
I still think Revelation holds up. It's a good, fun game.
You know, and we got some really nice Angelina Jolie.
Dude.
Side boob.
Hell yeah. A lady.
Okay, but the rest of the movie, her boobs look super weird. I know they needed to like bring her up a cup size. Fine. But they could have done a better job doing it. Like there was still technology for push-up cups and
Jude was obsessed with Angelina's boobs.
Were you?
I was.
So was every 13-year-old when they were playing the games.
The whole movie, like.
So, well, before we get into that, what did you think of the movie? Did you like it or not?
Well, I've seen it before.
Oh, okay.
I probably watched it when it came out. and I don't remember not liking it. When I watched it this time, I was way more picky about like what I wanted to see in a movie.
Mm-hmm.
I already said it's top notch as far as a video game movie goes. That being said, I don't think it's a good movie. I think that Angelina Jolie is great in this, and I think that they did her dirty by what they did to her boobs. Like,
really,
she's gorgeous. She's fine. She didn't need anything, first of all. But if they wanted to like make her boobs bigger, they should have done a better job at it. She looked like she was wearing a couple of styrofoam cups inside her bra. They were weird, and I couldn't stop just looking at these weird pillows inside her boobs.
She's a well-endowed lady. In other movies that I've seen her in, she's not. I don't.
And those were the originals.
I mean, it's kind of a running joke. I don't know if the filmmakers actually meant to do this, but early on in the Tomb Raider franchise, like they only had a limited amount of polygons and pixels to work with. So her tits were like straight triangles coming out of her chest.
Yeah,
and I don't
like straight like
yeah, because they only had one polygon to work with as far as the character of Lara Croft. So it was kind of
them the biggest triangles.
Yes, and it's a running joke in the franchise that like as the games have progressed and technology has progressed, they've gotten
in the new games that they have nice boob physics. They got good jiggle physics.
In the new updated games, she's much more of an athletic build.
Oh, like in the new movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not sure about that new movie.
I still love the new games.
Who plays Lara Croft in the new movie?
Some skinny girl.
I don't know her name. I can't remember. I actually haven't seen that movie.
I think she's a foreign actress, actually.
Okay.
But I think I did see it, but I don't remember liking it. It's not as not as much fun as this one.
I think she might actually be British.
She probably is.
Anyway, Kate,
what about Angelina's accent? Are we good with that?
I thought she did a very good job. Yeah,
she was fine.
All right.
I woke up in the morning and I just hated everything. There's so many fun lines in this movie too.
Yeah. And like through the whole movie, the most irritating thing to me was that she just must have like stupid money because everywhere she goes, she just destroys everything.
She does have stupid money. Yes, this is a fact. Her father was a lord of the manor. He's super wealthy, and when he died, he passed everything down to his daughter.
I think we should let Kadish spew some venom here.
All right, everybody get comfortable. Kadish is going to go on for a while.
Dump some salt, sir, and I'll try to defend my favorite movie.
I like when you told us the 3 movies we're going to be watching this week, I was like, 2 of these movies I absolutely loathe. And this is one of them because I remember when this movie came out, I was in film school and I went to go see it. I was very excited about it because I was a fan of the video game, and also this came out right as Angelina Jolie's career was starting to take off, and this was like her first big AAA action movie. There weren't a lot of movies with female action leads back when this movie came out, so the fact that she was headlining a major, not only a video game adaptation, but a big, action movie for the summer was a big deal at the time. And I never really understood people's obsession with Angelina Jolie. Like there were so many guys out there that was like, oh, I saw off my right leg to get with her. And my former producing partner, when I lived in Hollywood, was one of those guys. He was absolutely obsessed with her. And so like every day, like when we were living and working together, he'd be watching some Angelina Jolie movie. And I've seen like everything that she's ever.
I feel like she's like real easy on the eyes, and she's incredibly good looking, but I feel like she's also super high maintenance and very alpha probably in her relationships.
Well, I got to meet her. Mm-hmm. I actually went to the Actors Studio in New York when they were taping their interview with Angelina Jolie.
About this movie?
No, not about this movie. It was the episode that they interviewed Angelina Jolie in. And in fact, if you watch that episode, you can see me in the front row when they cut to like the audience and stuff.
The internet people are on it.
and you know, before she came out on stage, like she like had her own makeup person with her, and it cost like $50,000 to get like her made up for the taping of the show and stuff like that. So like, but I was dragged to that inside the Actors Studio by my producing partner, who really wanted to see it because he had gone to the Actors Studio. He had trained as an actor, and he was like, "Do you want to go see this?" I'm like, "I'm more interested in meeting James Lipton, but yes, I want to go."
James Lipton,
yeah, and it's funny because like she's like her body was like so like small, and her head was so big, and her arms were like.
Oh, she's a stick figure.
Well, no, her arms, they look like man arms because they had so many veins and like weird stuff in them.
You're ruining her for me. Right
What are
now.
you talking about?
This was right after I think she had broken up with Billy Bob Thornton because she used to date him. And,
I remember seeing some pictures of them together. She looked a little
like she was doing a lot of drugs with him, and they had like the vials of blood around their necks from each other and stuff like that. And so like her face and her hair, and what you could see of like her neck and chest, looked like a movie star. But then like her arms, I just remember her arms looked like weird man arms, like Machine Gun Kelly arms.
Oh my God.
It was very, very strange. But anyway, getting back to this movie.
Yeah, thank you.
So this movie was made right as she was getting ready to, like, her career was getting ready to take off. And I feel like every single scene in this movie was just like, oh, forget story, forget character development. Let's just show off how awesome Angelina Jolie is. And so this movie is just a series of scenes showing Angelina Jolie being cool. Like, I'm going to dress in like this outfit.
There's a lot of scenes of her just like turning.
But isn't that what the video game is?
Yes.
But the thing about, so it's one thing if you're doing that in a video game. If you're doing that in a movie, like it makes the movie boring. Like Lara Croft in this movie is a straight up Mary Sue. Like,
well, she's Lara Croft.
That's not an excuse, Vader.
Yeah, it is.
No,
because
it's not.
The video games already have her set up.
I don't care about the video games. What I care about is having a character that I can invest in a movie.
Well, this movie was made for video game players to see Lara Croft on the movie screen.
Look, if you criticize Rey in the Star Wars
completely
sequels,
different.
No, it's not. Like, you can't justify this character being
completely
as big of a Mary Sue as she is.
We've never seen Rey before. We don't know anything about Rey. We know who Lara Croft is.
If you've never played the video games, you've never
I never played the video games. I knew what we were looking at. I knew what I was getting into.
All right, but you're making an excuse for bad writing.
Disagree.
and
we all know that Kadish is much pickier when it comes to writing and storytelling than the rest of us.
Well, just basic character development. Like, every character in this movie is a hollow shell, and they're just there for cool set pieces. The guy who directed this movie, Simon West, when I went to film school, me and my film school buddies used to make fun of this guy because he was like the epitome of the Jerry Bruckheimer style of filmmaking, where it was all style and no substance. And he was the epitome of that. And there's so many scenes in this movie that are just like so stupid. Like the bungee ballet thing.
Oh, get out of it. That is a freaking awesome set piece.
I had a great time with
that. That is so much fun.
I figure you guys would, but like it has absolutely no reason to be in this movie.
What do you mean?
And it was just set up.
And she got really injured doing that,
yeah,
didn't she?
Yeah, but it was just set up in this movie because they were like, oh, wouldn't it be cool if she was on a bungee cord and she was like fighting these guys?
It is cool.
Yes, it was.
The answer to that question is yes.
But what I'm saying is like, it was a bad creative decision because it was for that set piece, but it didn't make any sense.
Why wouldn't it make any sense? They set it up beforehand when she goes and meets Powell, and he's obviously lying to her about not knowing what this magical clock is that's lined up with the, Illuminati, all that stuff.
They don't set up the bungee thing though. Well, they set up that this guy was going to, kind of come after her. But the thing is they were just like, oh, we want a big set piece where she's running around on a bungee cord, like having a gunfight.
What kind of setup would you need? Like, you need her to say something early on in the movie, saying, "I love bungee ballet." Like, is that a line they needed to say?
She has training in literally everything.
Yeah.
Well, the big question becomes is like, why does she have this thing set up in her living room to begin with? The whole opening of this movie where she's fighting that.
Oh my God, it's amazing.
I thought it was fun.
It is so not amazing. It's stupid as hell.
It's so much fun.
Like that robot doesn't even come into play later on in the movie.
It was just a setup to show.
The one time where they needed it to actually
it didn't work.
It didn't work, and so like it had nothing to do. And
that is purely just a setup.
I feel like you're trying to get all snobby movie student over a video game.
I'm not talking about being a snobby movie student. I'm talking about writing a basic, fundamental, good story. This movie is just a collection of set pieces that are meant to make Angelina Jolie look cool, whereas it's not actually a coherent, well-told story in my opinion.
I think that's the thing with video game movies. So, like, it's really hard to find a video game movie that's, in my opinion, a good movie. And I think that's the thing. If you're going to make it true to the video game, it's going to come out looking like a video game. It's not going to look like a good movie.
That's the thing I love about that opening sequence that he's dumping the salt on. Like her doing those backflips and pulling out the double guns.
Straight out of the game.
It's exactly like playing the video game. And the robot thing is a little weird. I don't know where they came with the robot from, but whatever. It was just to.
But you allowed it because you were a big enough fan of the video game.
Well, what I'm saying is
robot
like
was not in the video game.
Yeah, it wasn't in the video game. The
Okay.
robot's just like its own thing in the movie. It's
But-
really it is.
Yeah, but no, that's what I'm saying. Like you allowed that because you loved the video game.
What
So
I
much.
felt like was that opening scene was just to set up the fact that she is in fact Lara Croft from the games. Like she's got all the skill set that she has in the games has been transferred to the movie, and they needed a way to show that early on so that later in the movie when she's doing all these crazy things, we're like, guys, relax. She knows all this stuff already.
She's a Mary Sue, so she basically like it's just expected in every.
Has she made him? Honestly, I want to try and
everything she does is perfect. She's never in any danger. She figures out all the puzzles. She, beats all the bad guys no matter what the odds are. She looks good doing it. Everything about this character is a Mary Sue. And if you guys want to justify that, that's fine. But don't let me hear you ragging on Ray from the sequels.
It's not a fair comparison.
It's the exact same thing
No, it's not.
because it's lazy writing. That's what it comes down to.
I'm trying to think of any mistakes that she made in the movie. I don't think she made
Doesn't
any.
matter.
I think she made the mistake of trusting Powell.
She gets shot in the arm and then she drinks a tea and
It goes away.
healed. Yeah.
Hey, that was the super monk. That was the Mr. Miyagi,
That was good stuff.
the monk guys.
But
He healed her.
Yeah.
But like my whole point here is like there's so many things in this movie that just really bother me. One of my pet peeves for this film are like her dual wielding Desert Eagle 50 caliber weapons, where like a grown man would need two hands to like fire one of those shots and it would have like a kickback like a mule, and she's just sitting there like dual wielding, like no kickback whatsoever. Those guns are bigger than she is.
I'm not going to sit here and say you're wrong about that kind of stuff. What I'm saying here is it's a video game movie, and you have to have suspend a little bit of disbelief for watching these kind of movies.
But there is a way that you can set up suspension of disbelief that actually suspends your disbelief. Whereas having a Mary Sue character going through set piece after set piece with no like emotional through line, no character development, nothing really at stake. Like to me, this is very much a slaction movie where it's lacking in everything but action. Because I don't care about any of the characters. I don't care about the rivalry that they have with evil Indiana Jones here. There's nothing in this movie.
I like evil Indiana Jones.
There's nothing in this movie that actually carried me through it. In fact, I told Jude, because I fell asleep when we were watching this.
I yelled at him.
I've watched this movie, I think, like 5 times before rewatching it for the podcast. And I've fallen asleep through it at some point every single time.
Well, I can't argue with you because you're probably right. But I still freaking love this movie. And it's so much damn fun.
It's okay to like bad movies as long as you admit their faults.
Oh, I'm not saying this is a perfect movie.
No,
I'm just like, this is what you raised your hand. Go ahead.
I love bad movies.
Yeah, I love bad movies too. And I'm not gonna.
You didn't like Breach.
Breach is boring. They put some effort into this movie, and I can appreciate that. Like, yes, the set pieces are there just to show off how awesome Lara Croft is. Like when she's riding her motorcycle through the city, there's no reason for her to go 100 miles an hour except for that she's Lara Croft and she's going 100 miles an hour. It's freaking awesome to watch. I love it. The one-dimensional bad guy, I'm okay with that. Like it doesn't matter to me that Jorah Mormont just is like part of the Illuminati. I disagree on the backstory. I think they did spend a significant amount of time talking about her relationship with her father and how that affects the events of this movie. I'm not saying that we need to know every detail of her history in order to understand who she is, but I think they did touch enough on her backstory to set up the story.
One of the things about Tomb Raider is always about like her relationship with her
parents,
missing
her dead parents.
Father.
Yeah.
And in this movie, so they got Jon Voight to play her dad, and Jon Voight's Angelina Jolie's actual father in real life. And
they're on again, off again as far as estrangement.
Yeah. So like basically before this movie was made, they were estranged from one another, and they came back together. And they only have one scene together in this movie, even though there are flashback scenes with Jon Voight in them. Mm-hmm. Angelina Jolie and him are only on screen together in like one scene.
Yep.
And it was kind of like a weird moment because I've met Jon Voight, not not to humble brag or anything like that, but
Weird flex, but okay.
yeah. And he's a very nice guy. He's a very good actor. So like it was weird to see them on screen knowing like the actual story behind their strained relationship and kind of seeing them put that aside to be together.
Do you feel like it helped the scene out a little bit? Because I felt like
it made it awkward for me.
Made it awkward?
Yeah.
Oh, I felt like there was a little bit of a deeper, the dialogue was there because of the characters, but I felt like that dialogue kind of translated over to the real world a little bit. I don't know. I enjoyed it. Okay, so the set piece is my favorite one, of course, is the assault on the garage where she's firing with the air pneumatic gun
she's shooting screwdrivers.
She's shooting screwdrivers at bad guys. It's awesome. Fun.
Oh, my favorite one is inside the temple.
Which temple? The first temple?
The first temple.
Yeah. Oh, that was a ton of. That's straight out of the video game, dude.
Yeah.
That's so much fun.
That's probably why I liked it.
Yeah, and it was cool too. Like, I know a little bit of the backstory behind this movie when they were making it is a lot of the stunt people that were on that big pendulum that was swinging back and forth. Like they were on there for too long. They were getting seasick and stuff like that. And Angelina Jolie actually hopped on that thing and did the whole scene herself. And she was like, I'm good. Let's do this.
Yeah.
Like there's a lot of behind the scenes stuff where I know, actors are weird. I try to have to separate the art from the artist sometimes because actors are crazy most of the time. But like, I felt like Angelina Jolie really took this role and was like, I know who Lara Croft is and I'm going to become her.
Did you guys know there was supposed to be nudity in this movie?
Of course there was.
Wow, that shower scene was supposed to be real gratuitous.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and they had a body double for Angelina Jolie for all the nudie scenes, and then they ended up cutting it all out to get a PG-13.
Is
I'm okay with it.
Is there a director's cut anywhere?
It doesn't.
Give me that bottle.
It doesn't need to be gratuitous R rating sexual stuff. Like
there's a movie that she did with the girl from the TV show Lost. The blonde.
Evangeline Lilly?
No, not Evangeline Lilly. It was the
the blonde chick.
Yeah, the blonde lady.
Yeah,
I forget her name, but Angelina Jolie did a movie with her where they both got naked and lesed out with one another.
Oh,
Nice.
don't say it like that.
Well-
Lesed out. That's so creepy.
Scissored together? What?
Why are we talking about this?
I don't know.
I want to talk about Tomb Raider.
Just saying, if you wanted some sexy time with Angelina Jolie, that's the movie to watch.
Just Tomb Raider.
Some of the things you say are so cringy.
like
Everything I say is cringy.
Why-
like Lara Croft is a Mary Sue.
That's not cringy.
That's pretty cringy.
That's a fact.
I absolutely enjoyed the hell out of the bungee cord scene. Just her jumping around, beating the shit out of dudes.
It's on over here on our side while
Yeah.
we're watching it. She was just in there, exercising.
Yeah, it's her pastime.
And that's what she does for fun.
Yeah.
That's why she was on the bungee cords.
Yeah.
And then she just happened to be attacked by an army of goons while she was on the bungee
then set
cords.
it up before the scene happens.
They did.
They did. They set it up where she was like, "Hey, I'm just gonna hang out for a little while."
Flip in and flop in.
No. They introduced it in the exact same scene where the bad guys show up. I'm saying like you need to introduce it earlier on so it doesn't come out of nowhere.
I think you're being a little extra on that
I
one.
think
Do you guys want to know what my
I'm being a
favorite
proper
scene is?
writer.
What's your favorite scene?
I like the scene where the butler gets his shotgun and slips his feet into his slippers and comes out like he's gonna
Yeah.
Like he's gonna do something.
Yeah.
I like that.
All
That's good
right,
stuff.
let's go ahead and kill some motherfuckers.
Talking about the shower scene. So Angelina Jolie had like all these tattoos that they had to like cover
Yeah,
up for-
she had
for
like
the
Billy
shower
Bob
scene.
Thornton's tattoo on her arm or something.
Yeah, and like you can still kind of see it. But one of the things that sticks out in my mind is when I went and saw this in the theaters when it first came out, is the second shower scene. Like you see the water coming out of the shower, and everyone's like expecting Angelina Jolie. Then it pans down, it's like a naked Daniel Craig, and he's all like ripped and
Yeah.
in a shower.
Hey, man.
And everyone in the theater starts cracking up. And,
This is an equal opportunity sex appeal movie. Okay, you got sexy Daniel Craig, you got sexy Angelina Jolie. I'm all right with that.
I like seeing Daniel Craig in here.
He's cool.
I thought he was good.
Yeah, he was fine. Just a goofy little side character that's kind of like the
This is
frenemy
this
of
is pre,
Lara
This
Croft.
is pre
Bond.
Bond.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I had a problem with the fact that like I never really felt their relationship was real.
Yeah.
And so at the end, when she's trying to save his life, I didn't get the urgency from her.
There was a lack of setup as to who they were. They did a little scene where she was at the auction where they kind of introduced each other.
I mean, you definitely knew they had some.
They have a history, but
Oh,
it was real
it's you
shallow.
again.
Yeah.
I'll give Kadish that.
It was
one.
real shallow.
Yeah.
It was a little shallow. But
Like
that's all right.
I felt like that character should have been Jorah Mormont, and it should have been one of those things where like she'd had a relationship with this bad boy, and now they're on opposite ends.
Well,
of
Laura's not young or blonde enough for him.
Khaleesi. Yeah, it's not Khaleesi.
She's not 14.
Oh man. Okay, so the other big set piece, of course, is the tomb that you talked about, and it's just so much fun to watch that because
You talking about the finale or the temple?
The temple with
Okay.
the big statues that come to life, like the mythological aspect of this movie, where like things start coming
They
alive.
gotta poke Buddha in the belly.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Just on the side note of that, I was really surprised at how much I thought to myself how much the CGI would still look pretty good.
It's decent,
And it's 20 years old.
yeah.
It's not great, but it's not bad.
It's definitely.
It looks okay.
I think it's because it's made out of stone. It was a little bit easier
Yeah,
to sell that.
I think that's what I thought
How
too.
does a stone gargoyle fly?
Magic.
Yeah, dude.
How do they come to life in the first place? Magic.
None of that shit matters.
It's just straight out of the video game. I mean,
Yeah.
you fight dinosaurs in the video game. That's the only thing that's missing from this freaking movie is dinosaurs.
How do I have blonde hair right now?
Movie magic.
Movie magic.
I look like a goddamn metal god right now.
That's awesome, dude.
Vader's
Matt
so
Vader
in love with the
74.
Thor.
I am. I can't quit staring at
He's been
myself.
staring at himself for like 45 minutes
God,
now.
I'd totally make out with myself right now.
Touch it, don't suck it.
Oh my god.
Oh,
With
he's gonna
myself?
touch it and suck it.
Oh man. Are
If
you
I
that
get-
flexible?
Like if I walked into the room right now and said, "Hey," I'd probably go like defile your bedroom or something right now. That's terrible.
Happy birthday. I need another shot. Kate's just pissing me off.
We're only one movie in. Pace
Yeah.
yourself.
All right.
I can't wait to what he says about the other movies.
All right, so let's do some final thoughts on this video game movie. For me, I just feel like everything about this movie was ripped straight from the video game. And yes, it's not perfect. It's got some goofy flaws to it. She definitely is a Mary Sue, if that's how you want to put it. She's perfect. But she's perfect in the video games because you play her. You know, you make your mistakes and you fall into a pit of spikes and you die, then you restart. You know, like this movie's not going to do that to you. So it's like, I don't know. It's a weird thing to say, I guess. I have to admit that Kadish is right, unfortunately, as always.
You weak bitch.
No, he's not.
He's not like she's perfect, but she's supposed to be perfect.
She's supposed to be that way.
Yeah, exactly.
That's
It's like
not an excuse.
James Bond is perfect. He gets his ass kicked sometimes, but he still prevails at the end of the movie.
If you would have made a better movie, it wouldn't have been as true to the video game.
I like your logic.
It's
It's like if you would have made, like she said, if you would have made Laura Croft more vulnerable, it wouldn't have been true to the story.
I disagree. I
like-
think she could have had some
It's
vulnerabilities.
like, could they have done like some kind of montages when she was younger and learning how to shoot the double guns and stuff? Okay, but we don't really need to see that. Because
Well, that's another thing that I really like about this movie is they don't have to do the origin story.
it's like we've seen Superman
We've seen
crash in Smallville 1,000 times. I don't need to see Laura Croft because we've all played the game.
like when they make the new movies, I think when they made that new movie, it was an origin story because it was based off of the new video games, which came out in 2013, which were origin stories.
Did you like that movie better, Matt?
Not really, but for different reasons. Like,
Okay.
like it was I feel it's a better movie than this one was, but it's still not a good movie.
We'll have to watch that one.
Yeah, I think I saw it once, but I didn't really care
We'll
for
have
it.
to do a new
because it doesn't have the flair of this
We'll
movie.
we'll do another video game movie week.
Yeah,
We'll
like this
put that
movie's
in.
got some serious style to it, and that's what
Yeah.
I really love
Yeah.
about it. That movie was very like gritty and real. They went for like the realistic version, but there was a scene where she was like delivery biking somewhere with like an action style. This is goofy.
Yeah.
This movie was very much like video game, take it, put it on screen, have fun. Like it was a turn your brain off, let's have fun. Laura Croft shooting dual pistols, shooting monsters, jumping around, doing crazy tricks, solving puzzles. That's what I
Do we
want.
know what this movie was kind of given overall back in the day? Like a Rotten Tomato score or something?
It was a success, but not critically. I don't think it was. I don't think the reviews were very kind.
What did the general public think though? I don't
think
care. I don't care.
people
What
liked
It made a lot of money, but overall, I don't think many people liked it.
It's got the video game stank all over it.
Yeah. All right.
So final thoughts, Matt. What do you got?
Dude, I really enjoyed this movie. Like I said earlier, I thought it was true to the video game. You know, I enjoyed Angelina in it. I enjoyed the supporting cast in it. You know, probably more so than I should. And I don't know if I had watched it 20 years ago before these guys were more famous.
Mhm.
I don't know if I'd feel the same. Is that weird? Is that weird? Is that normal? But seeing these guys that we've kind of grown to love
Yeah.
from other characters has kind of like made me enjoy this
It's
movie
like,
a little bit more.
we can't even remember the poor guy's name, but we're like, Jorah Mormont, that guy, right?
What is it, Glenn Lane?
Ian Glenn.
Ian Glenn, yeah. And you know, and of course
Daniel Craig.
Yeah. You know. But I enjoyed this, man. I had a good time with it, and I'm glad you picked it. I'm 3 out of 5.
Okay.
3.5. Yeah, somewhere around there.
Jude, final thoughts?
If I'm rating it based on video game movies, it's a 4 out of 5. If I'm rating it as a movie that's just entertaining, it's probably a 2 for me.
Okay. Have you? I forgot to ask you. Have you ever played any of the video games? No. Okay.
I don't play any video games, which is why I don't think I can enjoy video game movies.
Okay, because you're lacking that perspective. Gotcha. All right.
It's like you trying to explain Harry Potter.
Right. Kadish, final thoughts. Go easy on me.
Well, I don't believe in the excuse that it's a video game movie, therefore it needs to be held to a different standard than other movies.
Just because you don't believe in the excuse doesn't mean the excuse doesn't believe in you.
I'm saying that every movie needs to kind of stand on its own. Like, you can't just say, oh, because it's a video game movie, I'm giving it a pass for being a bad movie. So especially like if you are a Tomb Raider fan, like you would want a good Tomb Raider movie. And it's not just a question of translating the video game to a movie. It's a question of being true to the source material while also being a good movie. And I think that's always been the issue with video game films, is that they either go so far away from the source material that it's hardly recognizable as that video game, or they stick so true to the video game that they fail to tell a good story. And so like you have to walk a weird balancing act on this.
Well, I think it's the same with anything that has a source material attached to it. I mean, that's why people say the book was better all the time.
Oh, the book is always better.
If you adapt it straight from the book, it's a shitty movie. So you kind of have to walk that middle of the road.
But books are a little bit easier to adapt than video game movies. Apparently, I don't think that video game movies should be as hard to adapt as Hollywood makes them. But you know, in this case, I feel like this was just an Angelina Jolie showcase. They're just trying to make her look as cool and as hot and as pretty as possible.
It worked.
And it's just
nailed it.
And it's just a series of set pieces thrown together with the bare minimum of story. And I don't care about any of the characters in this movie. I honestly don't care about the main character because I've never been a big Angelina Jolie person. But in addition to that, Lara Croft is just a straight up Mary Sue. Like, she doesn't grow, she doesn't change, she doesn't, have any type of like character development in this movie. She's just perfect at everything, and to me, that's boring. And I didn't like the overall story of like, oh, we can become time gods and switch things up. And in the middle of this movie, there's a scene where Ian Glenn basically kind of leads this expedition that Lara Croft kind of tags along with. And he's dressed like Indiana Jones, but the evil version of Indiana Jones. And I just found that to be like kind of like a little bit too on the nose for me.
Oh, that was awesome. He's got the black fedora and everything. Dude. It's awesome.
Yeah. I got to give me one of those.
But like I said before, I'm not a big Simon West fan, the guy who directed this movie. I feel like he's a very kind of like hack director. And overall, like, I feel like this film just fails to tell a good story. Like, it's boring to me. It's a action movie where it's basically just a bunch of action set pieces strung together. And if you don't care about any of the characters, if you don't care about the overall plot, it's just something that like you waste 2 hours of your life watching, and it's not a good movie to me. So overall, like, I give this movie like a 1 star because to me it's just completely boring.
Harsh. It's a 1-star crap.
I'm not saying it's a 1-star crap fest. I'm just saying it's 1 star.
I love this movie. It's a guilty pleasure for sure. I'm not gonna argue with him whether or not the plot is good. I just don't care. It's just fun to watch.
Yeah.
And I could see, like, if you were making a Tomb Raider franchise and you had this long like plan of like 4 or 5 movies to go, then yes, you want to establish your characters, do a backstory, do an origin story, do your when they become the titled character, and then they go on their adventures. I would totally be down for that. Like, I'm like, if Hollywood's like, hey, let's make a legit like MCU style Tomb Raider franchise.
That'd be fun.
Let's go.
Hell yeah.
Let's go.
Well, they tried to do that with the reboot, and the reboot did handle things a lot better than this movie, I feel.
Yeah.
But, fun fact, this movie is the 11th highest grossing movie with a female action lead in it.
I believe it.
Dude, you could mine Laura Croft as like a title character. There's so much potential there. Go for it, Hollywood.
It's a fun franchise.
Try again. I'm down to watch it.
Yeah.
All right. That's it for Tomb Raider 2001, starring Angelina Jolie. Thanks for joining us. Before we move on to our next movie, a real quick word from our sponsors. Welcome back, everybody. All right, the next movie on our list is Office Space. Before we get into it, though, if you would like to support the podcast and help us grow the brand and help us make awesome content for you to listen to and enjoy, go to saltynerdclub.com and become a club member of the Salty Nerds. There you will get access to all kinds of really cool behind-the-scenes photos, exclusive podcasts, early access to our main podcasts.
Yes.
And you, of course, get to contact and chat with the main hosts of the podcast. And
we have a new $3 level too now.
Yeah.
Yes.
Matt Vader 70 Thor over there is in charge of our Patreon side. So you guys can chat with him on Twitter and let him know what you guys want.
If you want to be cheap, you can come be $3. It's very good.
Don't call the people cheap. We love every dime that you guys give us.
We love everything.
There's a couple of podcasts that I support, and I only give them $3, and I'm fine with them.
I give everybody like $1.
Are you?
Yeah. Like, that's the lowest level. I'm like,
$1, $3, whatever you guys want. Just help support the podcast. I, too, am a
poor podcast host.
SaltyNerdClub.com. Go there. Okay, guys. Let's talk about Office Space. Office Space is the movie we're going to talk about. I am severely buzzed right now, so if we lose track of the podcast, that's why.
That shit just like kicked in.
Mm-hmm. It's good stuff. This is my chosen brand.
And that was full when he showed up today.
We are not sponsored by, but you know what I'm saying?
Matt's over here going, God damn.
Okay. Hey, we're going to have fun today, guys. This is my birthday week. It's my podcast. I get to have fun. All right.
And I am very pretty today.
You are gorgeous, sir. You're getting
super pretty.
You're getting prettier every sip.
That's goddamn right.
All right. Jude.
Okay.
Tell me what Office Space is all about.
I have a confession to make.
What's your confession?
I was having such a good time watching this that I didn't really write too much for the synopsis. But like, we know what happened.
Yeah.
Okay. 1999 Office Space, rated R, with a runtime of 1 hour, 29 minutes. It had a budget of $10 million. What do you think it brought into the box?
Not that much. This is a cult classic. It didn't do well when it came out. 10 million. I think it probably made like $3 million.
Vader?
30.
What?
I don't know.
30 million?
Yeah, but that's not a lot.
Had a budget of $10 million and it brought in $10 million.
Okay,
nice. That's minimum effort right there.
All right. So this is all I wrote. Peter has a perpetual case of the Mondays while working at a soul-crushing cubicle job at the tech company Initech. That's all I wrote. But okay, so here's what happens. Peter and two of his friends all work at Initech.
Michael and Samir.
Yeah, they all hate their jobs. He's got like a goofy neighbor at his apartment who you can hear everything through the walls. So
I love his neighbor.
That's his buddy too. And they all hate their boss, who's Bill Lumberg, who always has a coffee cup in his hand and always talks really slow.
So we're gonna have to go ahead and
get him to come in on the weekends all the time. He's got a shitty girlfriend who's been cheating on him, and so she makes him go to this hypnotist. And
occupational hypnotherapist.
Yeah, and while he's there, he's telling the hypnotist about how much he hates his job, and he's like, "Can you just hypnotize me so that like I think I've been fishing all day?" So that I don't like know I've been at work.
That's
and the hypnotist is like, that's not what I do. But let me get you relaxed. And while he's taking him through the hypnosis, he gets Peter all relaxed and then the hypnotist dies. And Peter just stays in this like hypnotized state. And when he goes back to work, he like takes the weekend off. He doesn't call anyone. He finally shows up with like a cordless drill and he like shreds his cubicle.
Damn, it feels good to be a gangster.
So he can like have a view out the window. And then meanwhile at the company there's these
the two Bobs.
Yeah, what are they called?
Bob Slidell?
Efficiency
consultants,
yeah. And they're there to like start cutting useless people. And they interview Peter. And he's just so I don't give a shit that they're like, he's a real go-getter. And they promote him.
Can you tell us a little bit about your day?
Listen, man,
sure.
I know Jude's right in the middle of the synopsis, but that is so true to life.
It's so true.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
All over the Las Vegas Strip, the mantra is promote till your level of stupidity.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
It is so true.
Yeah.
It is just ridiculous.
That's what is so endearing about this movie is everybody who has ever worked in every line ever.
We've all had jobs where we've experienced
even if it's
some
not
part of
even
this.
if it's not a cubicle job. Like you can still relate to everything that happens in this movie.
You don't know how many people, including myself, work in this town that are like frontline level people who have already been promoted and worked 10, 15 years of their lives in management and said, fuck it. I'm not doing that shit anymore.
Yeah.
And just refuse to be promoted. I can name 10 of them off the top of my head.
Yeah. So anyway, Peter comes up with this idea of he doesn't want to work anymore. So he comes up with an idea to rip off the company that they're working for by manipulating an algorithm inside the computer system that will transfer to an account fractions of a penny at a time, just like in Superman 3.
This came out in 99. So the premise is that they're setting up for the 2000 switchover, which I don't know if anybody remembers when...
That was a big Y2K thing.
Yeah, the Y2K thing. Everybody thought that the world was going to end and everybody had to like prepare their computers because the computers don't know what to do.
That was
in
a
the year
real
2000.
thing.
Yeah, it was real. So this is like the company-wide thing is we're all setting up for 2000. So it's really easy for them to sneak in these programs that would steal from the company and nobody would catch them.
And of course, they mess it up.
Yes.
And
they put a decimal in the wrong place and they end up getting like $300,000 over the weekend. They're like, somebody's going to notice.
Oh, no.
Yeah. Oh, shit. Okay. This movie, I think I saw it when I was, I was like 14, maybe 15. And I don't think I got a lot of the jokes, but I just attached myself to these characters. And this movie probably has a lot to do with why I didn't pick a job in like a corporate environment. I went construction. I went the opposite direction. I went outside. I learned from Peter.
You chose correctly.
Yeah, I learned from Peter. I was like, oh, he ended up with a job in construction. That's what I'm going to do.
Let me ask you.
Yeah.
At the time that you watched this, how long had the movie been out? Had it been like was it brand new or was it like kind of gaining its traction?
Probably over 5 years.
Okay.
So I'm going to say I probably watched it in like 2004.
Okay. So you watched it like how the rest of us did, like way after it came out.
Yeah.
Well, I watched it in the theater.
Of course,
Of course you did.
Just so you know, like the story behind this movie is that it came out in the theater, it flopped, mostly because Fox didn't know how to market it. And so like they really kind of, botched the marketing on this. And then it kind of languished on like DVD and home video. And it wasn't until Comedy Central bought the rights to it and started playing it almost on a continuous loop that everyone saw this movie and was like, oh wow, this movie is fantastic.
Yeah.
Feels like the Idiocracy story, right?
Yeah. It's
made by the same guys.
Made by the same guy.
It's funny because like every character, even just in the introduction.
That's a person you know.
Yes.
Every single person.
Oh, yeah.
Michael?
Like, down to the lady who's like, I forget what she says, but the...
corporate... Oh, hold on. I got it.
I know that lady.
Corporate accounts payable Mina speaking. Just a moment.
Oh, I know her. I have heard her on a loop in an office before. I'm like, God damn it. Change it up, lady.
But the appeal of this movie is that if we're not one of these three guys, we all know somebody who is.
Yeah.
And then the Michael Bolton. I am Michael Bolton. I'm not going to swear. Every person who I meet for the first time sings my name.
Hey Jude.
No, that's wrong.
Seriously.
Don't make it bad.
Oh, I didn't even think about that.
That no talent ass clown.
Hate it. Stop singing my goddamn name.
At least the Beatles are good.
Did you guys know that the word ass clown entered the common lexicon because of this movie?
That's a fantastic word.
I did not know this.
That's awesome.
Stuff.
Yeah, like the no talent ass clown where Michael Bolton is talking about the singer Michael Bolton. This was the first movie to actually use that word. And because of that, everyone attributes its creation to this movie.
That's awesome.
That's good. I like it.
Just like Michael's character himself, listening to like gangster rap while he's like this nerdy little white dude. It's amazing. And when the opening scene, like I said, the opening scene is like they do so much in so little time as to introduce you to each character or the three main characters. Like get Michael, he's like singing his gangster rap. He knows every word. He's dropping N-bombs. And as soon as the black guy walks by his window, he like locks the window, turns the volume down.
I do that.
It's so fun. And then
I sometimes get in like a Tupac mood or Dr. Dre or Snoop.
I mean, Who
Yeah.
has
Who
it?
doesn't? Yeah, I
this
listen
is-
to all that stuff too. In fact, the soundtrack to this movie is on my playlist.
Oh, it's such a good soundtrack.
I a little while ago when I went snowboarding, I legit had "Damn It Feels Good to Be a Gangster" from the
and
Ghetto
it makes
Boys
you feel like a gangster.
playing in my head while I'm snowboarding down the mountain. I'm just vibing out, dude. I love that song.
Uh-huh.
The soundtrack is awesome.
You know what's funny is that the entire soundtrack to this movie is like gangster rap,
Mhm.
Yeah,
and it's such an interesting kind of contrast where you see these like uptight white yuppie worker
Office
drones
people.
in the office in their cubicles, and they just listen to the hardest gangster like music possible. In fact, Fox actually wanted them to change the music to something more contemporary that they could sell a soundtrack to. And Mike Judge was like, "Well, we'll see what the test screening audiences have to say,
Yeah.
and if they don't like it, we can change it." And in the test screening, everyone was like, "Damn, it feels good to be a gangster." And the executives were just like, "Okay, fine, you can keep the gangster rap."
This movie is just like memorable moment after memorable moment. Like the printer scene.
Yeah.
Everybody knows about the printer scene.
Well,
Like,
everybody has a printer. That's
I
the
know
bane
that
of their
printer.
existence.
what do you mean? Freaking paper jam. What the fuck are you talking about?
Yeah.
It's just like,
Yeah.
it's so
Did
good.
you know that was improv?
Was it? Oh, that's amazing.
So what happened was they were in the middle of the scene and the printer actually jammed and that error code came up and the actor was like, "What does that even mean?" Like he was supposed to have like a different line for Ron Livingston and he just got distracted by the actual paper jam.
Love it.
It's so good, dude.
And when they were shooting the scene where they destroy the printer, they basically said like we're gonna do this like what mafia guys do when they actually kill someone, and so like that whole scene,
yeah.
It's perfect.
Well, they're gonna put two slugs in the back of their head.
Yeah.
Well, it's like,
With
you
a
know,
baseball bat.
you take a guy out into the middle of the desert and like beat him to death, and
They
like
take the printer out to a field.
Beat the shit out of it.
and
Just look at the flowers.
And
Just look at the
in
flowers. It'll be
fact-
over soon.
in fact, the guy who plays Michael Bolton, the actor, what's his name? It's basically David Herman. So David Herman actually ran into some like mafia guys in New York, and they went up to him. They were like, "Dude, that printer scene, that's legit."
Back up in your ass in the resurrection.
They were like, "No, that's really how it goes down."
Dude, I love Samir.
I love The Neighbor.
We gotta talk about the neighbor.
Oh my God, the neighbor. Hey, Peter, man, check out Channel 9. It's the breast exam. Woo!
and Diedrich Badger, who's the actor who plays that guy, I love him.
He's so good.
What else has he been in? I mean, he's familiar, but
The
I don't
Drew
know why.
Carey Show. He was big in the Drew Carey
Oh,
Show.
God, I missed that show.
I do too.
Yeah.
Mimi, you remember Mimi?
Uh-huh.
Oh my God, dude.
You do you, man.
He kind of
Yeah.
looks like Mimi right now.
It's like, oh, I'm sorry, Peter, man. When I look at her, I just get that feeling like she's the type of girl that just.
The best line that he has is like,
What would you do for $1 million?
Oh my God! Can I do it? Can I do it, please? This is
Your
like,
birthday.
oh my God, dude!
Hey, Alex, man, if you had $1 million, what would you do?
I'll tell you what I do, man. 2 chicks at the same time, and I think if I had $1 million, I'd be able to pull something together like that. He's like, really? If you had $1 million, you'd do 2 chicks at the same time? Damn straight.
Hey,
I've always wanted to do that.
Hey, Alex, has anyone ever asked you if you have a case of the Mondays?
No, man. Shit, no. In fact, I think you get your ass kicked. You say something like that.
I love how outraged he gets when Peter asks him, has anybody ever said this to you? And he's like,
shit,
no.
no. I think
Like he's legit like
upset, yeah.
Yeah.
Disgusted.
Yeah, I'm doing the new drywall down there at the new McDonald's. Gotta wake my ass up every morning at 6 a.m. That's me.
Mm-hmm.
I wake up at god awful freaking 3 o'clock in the morning to go to work.
And then you have the guy who's selling magazines.
Oh my God.
claiming
What is
that
it?
they-
Orlando Jones, I think his name is.
Yeah.
Yeah. He was every character in this movie is a standout character.
Yeah.
Like if I had any criticism toward this movie, I felt like it lulled a little bit when they found out that they screwed up the algorithm and they stole all the money over the weekend.
Well, that's when they break from the formula.
Yeah. That's the only point in the movie where I kind of feel like it kind of dips in its energy, but then it picks right back up and it gets back into the groove. Like that's my only criticism is I think it slows down a little bit too much right there.
Yeah. I'll say this, like of the 3 movies we watched this week, this was the only good one.
I was going to ask you if this was the one that you liked.
Yeah. So like this one, so first of all, it's brilliant satire.
Mhm.
I remember I used to watch, when I watched Saturday Night Live, Mike Judge basically started off by doing the Milton shorts, where it was the guy with
Milton is my favorite character in this movie.
And they were just like these really short kind of cartoon segments where it was Milton doing his mumbling about his stapler, and then Lumbergh would come in and be like, and tell him to do something like move his desk or something like that, and then he'd leave, and then every episode ended with Milton like, okay, I'm going to burn down the building,
but that's the last straw.
Yeah. and I never thought that, you know, they were very funny shorts, but the issue that Fox had with this movie is that it's not your typical comedy, it's satire. And anyone who's ever worked in an office finds this movie hilarious. But it's not like a laugh out loud thing. And so like they didn't know how to market it because there weren't like jokes or gags that they could put in the trailers or the commercials. And so basically, unless you've watched the movie, it's hard to come up with, you know, stuff that is funny about it. But everyone who's seen it, like every scene has something in it.
Beginning to end, it's totally quotable.
It's the definition of it's funny because it's true.
Yes.
Yeah. That's what makes this movie so good.
And for anyone who hasn't seen this movie, let's explain who Milton is. So he's a key character. He is the guy in the
office. Played by Stephen Root.
Yes. He's the guy in the office that he's just kind of annoying. He's been there for forever. And he's
like a high functioning.
Yeah.
Yes, I haven't gotten my paycheck.
He's that guy in the office who likes his things the way he likes his things.
Yeah.
And the boss, Lumbergh, always just messes with him. They move his desk all the time. Yeah. And they take his stapler. And he's got this special stapler that he's got like a relationship with.
I switched to the swing line, but they tried to change it on me. But I didn't like the other staplers because they bind up too much.
He carries his stapler around like it's his precious.
It's just the cake scene too. He's like, well, last time I didn't get a piece of cake.
That
so
would
this
be
time
infuriating.
Oh, if your boss just messed with you?
Just like passing cake, and then you don't get one?
Yeah.
You're the only one that doesn't get one? That's
they
nonsense.
have a scene where they're cutting, there's like a birthday.
It's Lumbergh's birthday.
Yeah. And they're cutting the cake and they hand him a piece of cake and he goes to start eating it. And some bitch is like, don't be selfish, Milton. Pass it along.
Down.
And he's passing and passing and passing. And then finally he turns to her and she's eating a piece of cake. And this guy's eating a piece of cake. And Milton didn't get any cake.
Let's be real here for a second.
All of these little things add up until Milton finally loses it.
Yeah.
And he does destroy the building.
Yeah, let's be real here for a second. How many of us have been in that stupid office birthday party with the cake and it's complete bullshit? Because everybody's happy birthday.
Oh, nobody gives a shit.
And nobody even likes each other in these offices. And you're eating happy birthday cake and stuff. It's like, get out of here.
I even told you because I used to work in a cubicle office like that back before I, wisened up and quit. And I even told her this story. So like I had started my own business while I was working in a cubicle job like this. And I had always said, if my business starts making the equivalent of what I'm making at work, I'm just going to quit and do this full time. And so it got to that point. And before I could quit, the office manager came to me. He was like, hey, Matt, you have 2 weeks of sick leave saved
Vacation.
Up. Yeah. Like you need to take your sick days. Otherwise you're going to lose them. So I'm like, you mean to tell me I can get paid for 2 weeks and not have to show up? And he's like, yeah. So I took my 2-week vacation basically with my sick days. And then like when it was over, I just stopped going back.
Yeah.
and
I quit.
And basically like a month later, they finally called me and they're like, hey, are you coming back in? I'm like, no. And they're like, oh, okay. and that was that. And so like I was telling Jude, I was like, this movie is far more accurate than anyone gives it credit for.
Yeah, oh my gosh.
Really is.
Dude, the scene where he goes to takes Jennifer Aniston out to lunch.
Oh, I forgot she was in this. Yeah,
he's like, yeah, I don't really like my job. I don't think I'm going to go anymore.
Yeah.
And she's like, what do you mean you're not going to go? She's like, I'm just not going to show up.
She's like, so you're going to quit? And he's like,
no,
no, I'm just not going to go.
I'm just not going to go. Well, are you going to find another job? I don't think I'd like another job.
Well,
I'm just
how are
gonna
you-
quit.
How are you going to pay your bills?
I
I
don't
don't really
really
like doing
like
that either.
Well, what do you want to do?
He's
I want to
like-
go back to my house and watch Kung Fu. Do
And
you
then
ever watch
she
Kung
loses
Fu?
her mind.
Dude, the zoom in and she's
Yeah.
like, I love Kung Fu.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Channel 39, totally.
Kung Fu in this movie is the equivalent of lobster. Yeah.
Lobster bisque.
You want to go back to my place and watch Kung Fu? Yes. All right.
Yeah, I want to blow you.
And
Wait. If bisque gets you butt stuff,
Oh my
lobster-
God.
Does
And
not
lobs-
get you butt
and
stuff.
lobster gets you a BJ.
Jewelry will get you butt stuff.
I'm not
Maybe.
done.
Maybe.
What does lobster?
Soup never got anyone butt stuff.
Let's just clear this myth up.
Where does
right now.
lobster bisque get you?
Maybe a hand job, but like lobster bisque doesn't even have lobster in
Jude's
it.
like-
It's like a lobster walked through soup,
Jude-
and then you drink it. You're not doing anything.
I'm
for
getting
this.
lobster
Jude's
bisque.
No soup for you.
did you turn into the soup Nazi all of a sudden? No butt stuff for you.
No
You're
butt
pushing your luck, little man.
No butt stuff for you. 1 year.
Oh my god. The Irish whiskey is kicked in, everybody.
Woo.
Hey, cheers.
So, talking about Jennifer Aniston, the studio Fox wanted Mike Judd to put in big name actors in this movie, and they were really pushing for Matt Damon and Ben Affleck. So Ben Affleck would have been Lumbergh, and Matt Damon would have been
I can kind of
the
see
Peter
that.
That might have been pretty good.
and Mike Judd was like, I really don't want to put big name actors in this. I want to keep it small. In fact, he originally wanted to just take the voice cast from King of the Hill and put them in the live action, because this was his first live action movie. And the only characters that really kind of resonated were Stephen Root doing Milton, where he was like, wow, Stephen Root does Milton better than I do. And I think it was the guy who played Michael Bolton, David Herman. Basically, he compromised and he said, okay, if Jennifer Aniston wants to do the part, I'll put her in, but then I get to cast whoever I want in the other parts. And the executives are like, okay, we can live with that.
I think everybody was cast
Well,
perfectly.
Yeah.
But I
Jennifer
would
Aniston
be
was
I would be
hot.
curious
I
to
liked
see
her.
Matt Damon in this movie. I think it'd be one of those
As
weird.
Lumbergh?
Yeah.
I think
I
Matt
can see
Damon
that.
is great in everything he's ever been in.
Well, Matt Damon would have been Peter. It would have been Ben Affleck playing Lumbergh.
Oh, okay. All right.
I don't know
That's
about
all right.
about Ben Affleck playing Lumbergh.
I can see
I
that
can
too.
totally see that.
Can you really?
Oh yeah.
Oh, that would be
I can
interesting.
He's
see
so
that.
goofy.
What else? There's every scene in this movie is like a
Then
beloved scene for me.
we
But
got Drew, the
oh my
O-face
god!
guy.
Okay, yes, thank you, Drew.
Oh,
You know what I'm talking about. Oh.
because we do Drew
We do, yeah.
all the time.
She gets around.
Oh yeah, like a record.
Oh.
I mean, in an average day, you probably quote this movie like 3 or 4
Oh my gosh!
times.
So
And you don't
I
even know you're doing it.
this is-
No.
you guys remember Christian? He's the guy who taught me how to say my Spanish intro.
Yes.
He's not a movie person. Like when I say, "Hey, have you ever seen this ultra famous movie that literally everybody's seen?" He's
Yeah.
like, "No, I've never even heard of it." I'm like,
Yeah.
so I got to show him this movie for the first time ever.
Aw.
He was fucking dying laughing.
You're
during
going
this
to be
movie.
mad at yourself if you don't stop swearing.
I'm sorry.
Is this what you do at work? You watch movies?
Don't tell my boss,
Wow.
Lumbergh.
Okay. So
Yeah.
salty. I'm
No,
I'm gonna have
it
to
goes
go
like
ahead
this.
and ask you to quit
Yeah.
watching movies while you're.
No, it's
working.
like yeah. That 6-month review where we gave you the promotion. Yeah, I haven't had time to do that yet. But if you can go ahead and come in on Sunday, that would be great.
That's good.
Nailed it.
Good stuff. You did.
Wow, this whiskey's hitting me. All right,
Need some water?
I got water right here. Thank
Okay.
you, thank you, Jude.
Which hasn't been drank.
Not a bit.
Why don't you maybe add it to your whiskey?
Oh God, that'd be sacrilege.
There's enough ice in it as it is.
Okay.
And, also, what do you do?
Oh
here?
God, the bobs.
Oh God, the bobs.
Dude, the scene with the bobs where Peter walks in, and like you said, he just gives no shits whatsoever. He walks in, he's like, "So, just run us through a typical day for you." And he's like, "Sure. I usually come in about 15 minutes late, and I come through the back door so Lumbergh can't see me, and then I just kind of space out for about an hour."
What do you mean space out?
Well, I just stare at my desk, but it looks like I'm working. It's like I'm
Today on the Salty Nerd Show, Salty reenacts the entire
I
movie.
literally could. That's the thing. That's how much I love this movie.
But
I could.
How great is Gary Cole in this
Oh my
movie
God,
as
he's so
Lumbergh?
good.
Like you know, he was the dad in the Brady Bunch movies, and he was also Ricky Bobby's dad, wasn't he?
He's such a great character actor.
Yeah, he is.
Yeah,
Yeah.
This is egregious.
and he's got such great comedic chops to him where you know, he plays the Lumbergh character just evenly throughout, like even in the sex scene where he's got like the coffee mug and he's just like
just a little bit to the left.
Just a little bit to the left.
Oh, hey, Peter, what's up? If you go ahead and get me those TPS reports, that would be great. No, the sex scene, the sex nightmare was really good. Drew was hilarious. Like that one.
Lumbergh fucked her.
Lumbergh. and then
it turns out it's like a totally different.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Lumbergh.
It's totally a case of mistaken identity. This guy's talking shit about this girl because he says that she had sex with the boss that they all hate.
Yeah.
Turns out it was some guy from the gym who was also named Lumbergh.
The scene in the
Jennifer
car.
Aniston, when she realizes who he's talking about, she's like, "Oh yeah, that guy."
Oh, can we talk? We need to talk about
She's
Jennifer
like,
Aniston.
Lumbergh.
Jennifer
Oh,
Aniston.
yeah.
Yeah. It's like, oh, he just like almost throws up when she says, "Oh yeah," and it's like, and then when she's finally done with it, she's like, "I'm over this. I'm getting out. Let me out of the car. Say hello to Lumbergh for me."
Oh yeah.
You know, the Nazis used to make people
Totally.
wear
Flare
pieces of flair.
that they made the Jews wear, and she's like, "What?"
I used to really like those kind of restaurants back
Oh
then.
my god! Oh, Chotskys and like Chili's and stuff.
I do not like
Chili's
restaurants
and
like that.
TGI Fridays.
And
stuff.
honestly, men of the world, every time you ask your woman where she wants to eat, she says, "I don't care, you choose." And you keep saying restaurants like this. This is why she keeps saying no.
Chain
Because
restaurants are
chain
terrible.
restaurants are terrible.
Yeah, they are.
How about
I agree.
Applebee's? No.
If
How
you're
about
lost-
Chili's? No. They're all the same restaurant.
If you are a Las Vegas local, I highly suggest going to Herbs and Rye. It's a
Ooh, I
steakhouse
like that
downtown.
place.
You know what's funny though is that so Mike Judge, about 5 years after this movie came out, he went to a TGI Fridays, and they didn't have any flair on, and so he asked them. He was like, "Hey, what happened to all the flair?" And their waiter was like, "Oh, did you ever see that movie Office Space?" It's like it became too much of a joke. Everyone was making fun of our flair, so
like, nice
so corporate
flair.
said not to stop doing it.
That's
That's
amazing.
awesome.
That's amazing.
So
He
here's
changed the world.
Yeah.
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 So here's my rule for those kind of restaurants. If I go into the restaurant and there's a computer with a menu and a card swiper on the table,
Mhm.
I don't go.
What?
I just walk out. So Chili's, Applebee's.
You want that service?
Friday? Yeah, I'm.
You want
I'm not
Brian?
I'm not eating there. I'm not eating there.
You know, Mike Judge said that he realized the movie had penetrated the social consciousness when him and his producing partner went to a Starbucks, and the baristas behind the counter were quoting lines from Office Space.
Aw.
and he asked them, he was like, "Are you guys quoting lines from Office Space?" And they're like, "Oh yeah, have you ever seen that movie?" Which is
That's
funny
awesome.
because Mike Judge plays
He's the boss from
he's-
Chotchkies.
Yeah, he's the Chotchkies manager.
Yeah.
So like it's kind of funny that like people like don't recognize him, but like you walk up to some random person on the street, they've seen this movie,
Oh,
they
for
can
sure.
quote stuff from this movie.
Yeah. It's amazing. And the whole interaction between Jennifer Aniston and her boss about this the flair, like, don't you want to
Oh, it's
express yourself?
hilarious because
Yeah.
everybody's had this conversation before,
Yeah.
where your boss is saying he wants you to do more, but he can't.
Yeah.
He's and you're doing your
The
job.
bare minimum.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I want you to do this. It's 15 levels, and you do the 15 levels, and they're like, "Well, I mean, if you
Don't
want to
you-
do the bare minimum, that's literally my job.
It's awful.
So
I
you want me
know.
to do more
Yeah.
for nothing?
Yeah.
for you?
Yeah.
But you won't tell me? It's infuriating.
I've been there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we've
I was
all been
there last
We've
week.
all been
All
there.
I was
there.
literally there last week, and I was like, "So you want more then?"
So
And when this podcast I'm drunk, so excuse me, but when this podcast takes off, I'm going to do that line from this movie, and I'm going to be like, you know what? I do want to express myself. Okay, Brian, just fuck you.
so it's a pretty safe thing to say that we all like this movie.
hmm
Yeah.
Have we talked about it enough? Have we quoted
I
enough
think
lines?
so. Move
I
on.
will say that
We have to rate it.
I think
Oh.
that it's slightly overrated.
How dare
How
you?
dare you, sir?
I know that's an unpopular opinion. I'm not saying it's a bad movie. I think it's brilliant satire, but as a comedy, I feel like it's just slightly overrated.
I disagree. I think that the technology, of course, doesn't hold up as well. because it's from 1999.
Oh, I
but
love
think,
that part of
I
it.
think the humor holds up. I mean, this is a movie that like I think I saw it for the first time in maybe 2005, something like that.
Mhm.
And it's just one of those movies that if you want to have some friends over and nobody can agree what to watch, you watch this.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I've seen this movie 1,000 times.
To me, just because the monitors are thinner now, in the
Doesn't change
offices,
anything.
Doesn't change.
This is a
thing. It's
timeless movie.
100% still accurate about it.
Jump to conclusions.
Yeah.
It's a jump to conclusions, Matt. We should make a T-shirt that has that jump to conclusions. This movie it's perfect to me. It's the perfect workplace comedy. It's the perfect comedy. I think everybody that's in this movie is.
They were gonna make this into a TV show, but then The Office came out and beat them to it. And Mike Judge was just like, "Screw it, we're not going to deal with it."
Yeah.
I don't think this would have worked as a series.
I think it
would have gotten old.
Well,
Yeah.
originally it was going to be a Milton movie. Milton was going to be the main character, but Mike Judge is like, you don't want to see Milton at home doing stuff, so he turned it into an ensemble.
He's a perfect side character.
Yeah. All right. Final thoughts on Office Space, Matt?
I love this movie.
Okay.
And I hadn't watched it for a long time. And I needed to watch it just to remind me how awesome it was. Strong 4 out of 5. Yeah.
Nice.
Completely enjoyable. And it's got Jennifer Aniston in it.
Perfect.
And any movie that she's in.
And she shows up. She shows
she's
up
your boo, huh?
She is my boo.
halfway through the movie, just wearing a T-shirt, just a white T-shirt.
Yeah. That's a good look.
It's good.
I like it.
It's good. Hey, Peter, man.
Lumberg fucked her.
Well,
Watch out for your cornhole, man.
she's on my list. So,
I like that part where he's at his lowest and Peter asks if
You want to come over?
Yeah,
no, man, I don't want you to fuck up my life either.
I like that part.
Jude, what are your thoughts on this movie?
I agree. For me, it's a 5 out of 5. I give it a 5 out of 5 staplers.
Cheers, Jude.
I love it. I probably know every line of it.
Yeah, me too. Kadish?
Even though I said it was overrated, I definitely give it 4 out of 5 coffee mugs. Every character is standout. The satire is brilliant. This is a movie that you can watch a million times and never get tired of it. That's the sign of a good film. It's as relevant today as it was back in 1999. It's a brilliant film on a lot of different levels. And I think that if it was just like a little bit more comedic as opposed to satirical, it'd probably be a 5-star movie for me. But overall, it's a brilliant film.
What would you say you do here?
I'm a people person.
All right, guys, that's it. That's our discussion for Office Space. Highly recommended.
Did you rate it?
5 out of 5. All four,
Okay.
all three
Yeah,
of these movies are
these
5
are
out of 5
5s.
for me.
5 out of 5 what?
Salty nerds.
Stipplers.
All right. Yeah, that's it. So thanks everybody for joining us on this review of Office Space. It's so good. All right, guys. Real quick word from our sponsors, then we'll be back. Welcome back, everybody. The next movie on our list is The Boondock Saints, starring. Shut up. Okay.
1999.
Jude, take it away.
1999, Boondock Saints, rated R, with a runtime of 1 hour 48 minutes, had a $6 million budget. What do you think it brought in?
Okay, so I know there's a really troubled backstory behind the production of this
Yes.
movie, and I understand that originally it was supposed to have a $15 million budget.
Correct.
They changed it because the deal fell through, so there was $6 million. I want to say it made. It was a really limited release, right? It was like 5 theaters, I think.
For like 1 week, I think.
Yeah, I'm gonna say like $200,000, maybe
Really?
$300.
Vader?
I couldn't even venture a guess.
Okay. So when it was first released in those theaters, I believe the figure is $30,000.
Okay.
And then now I think that if you factor in like rentals, it's up to, what was it, like 50 million?
40. Yeah.
50 million.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
Oh,
I
wow.
didn't
It's definitely
know.
a cult classic.
Yep.
Yeah. I didn't know anything about this movie.
Was-
I honestly thought, I've never seen it before. I thought it was a Guy Ritchie movie.
So the two of you have never seen this before?
Oh,
No.
wow. Wonder Twins.
That's amazing. I love it. I'm so excited when I get to show people movies for the
Mhm.
first time. It's incredible.
You feel like God.
No, it's just fun to see it through somebody else's eyes for the first, like, because I've seen this movie since I was a teenager, and it was like one of those movies that blew my mind as a kid. I was like, oh my gosh, like It was the most violent, the most gratuitous, the most sweary. Like, I was a young kid. And I watched this movie. I'm like, oh my God, this is amazing. It was everything I was not supposed to do.
How long after it had been out did you see it?
What year did it come out?
99.
Oh, this is another 99. So it was probably like around the same time I saw Office Space then, like 2005, something like that.
Yeah.
I was in high school.
I did notice that all three of the movies you picked today were all come out about the same time.
Yeah, it was because that was my like defining years as a young teenager, and I saw the movies that really like set me off in the direction.
Movies that made Alex.
Yep.
Well, a lot of my questions have been answered. It's like now I know
now you
why
know
your tastes are the way they are.
So I've never seen this movie before until we watched it for this podcast, but I did watch it twice for the podcast. The first time, like Matt said, we had a big dinner. We were at a party, and what I had for dinner was 2 bottles of wine. So the first time I watched it, it was great.
Right?
Yeah. I was like, oh, I get it. And then the second time I watched it was the next morning, and I was feeling a little bit rough. But I understood it more, but it was not nearly as enjoyable. Would you like the synopsis?
Yeah, go for it, Jude.
Okay.
That's your job.
Wow. Do your job, woman.
I'm sorry.
That
was the whiskey.
Lipstick on your face,
Look,
too,
more
bitch.
we
whiskey
started
for you.
when this is like every movie is a third.
I
We're
only
getting
had
there.
one
We have-
shot.
we have
You
polished that
guys
thing.
have polished that.
Salty
I
Nerd
think
Podcast. Hey, go to saltynerdstore.com and pick up some merch.
It's not even St. Patty's Day yet.
Help support our drinking habit.
It's getting close, right?
It is.
Speaking of St. Patty's Day,
Yeah,
our
go.
movie opens on St. Patrick's Day. For Christ's sake.
Pull yourself together, woman.
His headphones almost came off on that one.
Right.
You look like Willem Dafoe.
I kind of do.
I hate you people.
Hey, how you doing over there?
You probably feel drunker than you are because you won't take those glasses off
I love
either.
it. I love it.
You look like Willem Dafoe cross-dressing in this movie. Oh my God.
All right, that's
Okay.
Synopsing.
Go ahead, Jude.
Is
Take
that
it
a
away.
word? Synopsing? That's not a word.
Symbology.
Symbology.
Hurry up. We got to get through this. God damn it, Salty.
The McManus brothers just want to drink their whiskey and beers when the Russian mob comes in the bar to push them around and then get killed. After defending themselves, they receive visions from God that give them a mission to kill all the mobsters. Along the way, their third wheel, Rocco, gets a 6-gun assassin sent after him who shoots his finger off. Willem Dafoe is the brilliant detective on the case. He's looking for the brothers and then decides to help them. When he hears about a coup set up to trap the brothers, he dresses in drag and also ends up killing some mobsters. Rocco gets killed, and the brothers then team up with 6 guns in a final showdown with an Italian mobster who was about to get acquitted for his crimes. Please discuss.
Salty can't.
You got?
He's done.
Have you lost it?
Oh, toast. I love this movie so
The
much.
synopsis wasn't funny. I don't know why you're laughing.
Because I'm as you're talking about the scenes, I'm remembering how much I love this movie.
You're remembering Willem Dafoe, like
In drag.
writhing on the ground, and you could see his man panties.
There was a firefight. It's amazing.
He's so over the top.
Oh my God, I love it though. I love it. I might just want a bagel with my coffee. Like
Yeah,
that was
funny.
so freaking
I
funny.
love his character.
And like the opening to the scene, my favorite character is the bartender.
Oh, okay.
Fuck ass. He's amazing. Why don't you make like a tree and get the fuck out of here? Like I legit say these lines to people.
Yeah, that basically stole that from Back to the Future.
Yeah.
What do you mean?
They stole that line.
Oh, that's a Biff line, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But they just made it Irish.
And vulgar.
I dig it.
Well, he's got Tourette's, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So
We've got to get you a book of Proverbs or something. This mix and match shit's just not going to fly.
That was awesome.
This is
I
so
do
good.
love the chemistry between the two brothers. I believed them as brothers.
Oh, for sure.
I did too.
Yeah. I mean, this is like I don't know, man. This movie.
Did you know originally it was going to be Stephen Dorff and Mark Wahlberg playing those parts?
I could see that.
I could definitely see that. And I know, like, you had us watch that documentary, was Overnight, that came out in
Yes.
2003.
Ugh, what a douchebag.
So I had to stop watching it because I have such a love for this movie. And to hear the
ruins
turmoil
it.
behind the background and who Troy Duffy is. Now, I can understand, like, he's come out and said that documentary painted him in a very negative
he's
light.
Also a huge liar.
Yes.
So for those of you listening who might not know about this, so there's a documentary on the making of this movie called Overnight, and it's basically these filmmakers followed Troy Duffy, the writer and director of Boondock Saints, around for about 3 years from the point where he made his first big sale to Miramax to the making of this movie and then to the releasing of it. And it basically shows what happened behind the scenes to get this movie like off the ground. And it's very eye-opening about who Troy Duffy is and one of the reasons why I hate this movie so much.
Well, that's not fair though, because the movie, like just from that lens, just watching the movie, it's so damn entertaining.
Yeah, I did not watch that. I didn't have a chance to watch that this week. So
it's wonderful.
Without having any concept for that, just watching this movie on its own, I really enjoyed this thing. It was super fun.
It's a blast. It's got a couple of like comedic genius moments.
For Christ's sake, it's got Ron Jeremy.
Some of the most quotable lines ever for me. And it just like when I watched that documentary, and this was the first time I ever watched it, I was like, I can't finish this because it's ruining my love of the movie. Because Troy Duffy,
see how that would do that.
Troy Duffy is a douchebag.
Oh, he's horrible.
An egotistical, narcissistic douchebag.
Mm-hmm.
And if that documentary is even 50% true, and most of it's just painted in a bad light, it still ruins the movie for me. So I stopped watching it like 37 or 38 minutes in. I was like, I get the idea. The guy's a douche. Mm-hmm. So I have to look at this movie in a completely different light. I'm not going to allow... I have to separate the art from the artist, basically, which is what I have to do with a lot of actors.
Quentin Tarantino is a horrible person, but I love his movies.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, if they made like a really dirty documentary about Quentin Tarantino, we'd all be like, God,
the difference is Quentin Tarantino actually has talent, whereas Troy Duffy does not.
Yeah, but this movie's really good. Maybe it's lightning in a bottle. Maybe it's.
Have you seen the sequel?
Yeah, the sequel's terrible.
What's the sequel called?
Boondock Saints, All Saints Day. All Saints Day.
Okay.
It's fun, but it's definitely not this level of good.
All right.
Like this movie's amazing. I love this movie. And yes, it's lightning in a bottle. I'm not saying Troy Duffy's like a freaking cinematic genius or anything.
I think this movie's an empty bottle, personally.
Hold on one second.
I don't know. Go ahead.
No, I was just saying, like, I love all the characters in this movie. I think it's not a comedy, but because of the way it's presented and the relationships with the characters, I laugh the entire way through. Rocco is freaking comedy gold.
I do like Rocco.
Like, he is so freaking damn funny in this movie. And of course, everybody talks about the cat scene.
Buffoon.
He's such a buffoon, but I love it. It's perfect to the seriousness of what's happening in the movie is counterbalanced by Rocco's buffoonery, and it's so good. And the brothers constantly fighting with each other and like calling each other names, and like this the way people act in this movie is very New England to me, because I grew up in New England, and I'm like, yeah, people are assholes like that.
Which is another reason why this movie resonates with you.
But everybody back east that I grew up with is an asshole, but you love them for it. Like, that's just how people act back there.
Yeah, yeah.
Everybody just treats you like shit, but we treat everybody like shit, so everything's fine.
Right.
It's to be expected, and it's kind of endearing to me. So like when I watch this movie, I'm like, yeah, I get it. It's fun. So I don't know. For me, like, this movie it brings something out of me. It reminds me of back home. The Boston accents and the Irish accents really it makes me feel happy when I watch it, and they're all like, it's St. Patty's Day, everybody's Irish today. And and the opening scene when they're introducing the brothers, and they're like, rule of thumb, in the 1900s, a man could beat his wife as long as it was no thicker than his thumb. And he's like, oh, you can't do much damage with that, can you? How about a rule of wrist?
I love it.
It's so damn funny. It's like, it sets the movie up. The opening bar scene with Rocco and the bartender and the Irish mob that comes in, and they just get into the bar brawl. It's just, I love everything about this movie.
I thought that scene was funny because they had the lady that played the football coach in Glee was the lady that beat the shit out of him in the meatpacking plant with the rule of thumb thing.
Oh, she's from Glee?
Yeah, she was.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Football coach.
Oh, I did not know that. That's funny. No, it's just like, I can't think of anything I don't like about this movie. The characters are standout. Willem Dafoe's a standout character, and the way that they play off of each other in the comedy, it's amazing.
I think this is my favorite movie with him in it.
Willem Dafoe?
Yeah.
He's so good.
He's so weird.
He's so weird, but I love it.
He's so weird dude, but I bought him in this. This is like, okay, this is what I see when I see a Willem Dafoe movie from going forward, is like this character,
this goofy little the FBI agent. I love the fact too is like the farther into an investigation he gets, the more clothes he loses.
Yeah,
like he first loses his jacket, then his tie comes undone, then he starts unbuttoning things, and then like when he gets really frustrated, it's a weird way of like showing how he is investigating the crimes that he's looking at. It's just
the more intense, I would say. He becomes invested in this investigation. The more unraveled he becomes. And then he has to deal with like, but I'm a law upholder, but I believe in what they're doing, and he's just so torn about it. And then he needs the priest to tell him like it's okay.
Well, it's really cool too. Is the movie, like, as goofy as it is, it does bring up a legit like moral discussion about the what can you get away with as far as a vigilante,
like with all the people being interviewed in the end credits.
Exactly.
I actually liked that.
They could have went the direction of like just saying, hey, the Boondock Saints are good guys and they're fighting evil, but they left it open-ended where they were like, is this a good way to go? Is this okay?
And I liked seeing the people argue about it.
Like,
oh yeah, kill them all. The more you kill, the better it gets for us. And then like the person next to them is like, are you crazy? Why do you think that?
It's a really nice, it's a really good way of like bringing up that kind of discussion.
Actually are fighting on the internet now.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, imagine if, this is a weird comparison, but like Batman's a vigilante. You have characters in the Batman universe who were like, he's just a vigilante. He's just as bad as the criminals he's fighting. And then you have other people who are like, no, he's doing good. He's doing what we can't do.
He's a crime fighter.
Yeah, exactly. So I freaking love this movie.
Well, Kadish hasn't spoken for a while.
I know. He's getting, he's
going to give it.
He's amping up.
I just see him shaking his head over there.
Empty bottle. Empty. Go ahead, Kadish. What do you think about?
We're going to get film schooled here.
And okay, listen, this is my thing though. You have to talk about the movie and not the douchebags behind it.
Well, the two are kind of interrelated.
They're not,
in my opinion.
Separate the art from the artist.
Well, no, because like the artist has a direct impact on this particular piece of art. So, I'd heard about this movie long before I'd seen it, and I don't think anyone saw this in the theaters because it was only out in like 5 theaters.
Yeah.
So it really found its home on home video. So basically what it comes down to is I'd heard so many people raving about this movie, and I was in film school at the time. And so I was like, with my friends, I was like, we have to watch this movie, Boondock Saints. I keep hearing people talk about it. So when it came out on video, we'd go out, we rented it, and we watched it. And when I was watching it, I was like, did everyone lie to me about how good this movie is supposed to be? And it's a frustrating film for me because there are elements in it that have so much potential to be good. And it was strictly because of Troy Duffy's inexperience as a storyteller that they didn't turn out the way they should have. Like this movie could have been like a classic, in my opinion.
I think it is.
It's not.
It's a cult classic.
It is a cult classic.
I don't know if I would go there because I think I would have seen it before now. If it was
I used to work at Hot Topic, and like 50% of the stock of the t-shirts and the posters and the bullshit knickknacks and stuff, it was all Boondock Saints.
Yeah.
And I didn't know what the hell Boondock Saints was, but there were hoodies and t-shirts and all kinds of shit, and we could not keep it in stock.
But the people who knew,
it is a cult classic.
The people who knew, and they went after that merchandise.
Yes.
Yeah, and I don't really understand its cult status because this is not a good movie. Like at its being generous, it's a decent enough kind of like B-grade action film. The best part about this movie is the cast. Like Troy Duffy did get some really good actors, and Sean Patrick Flannery and Norman Reedus. In fact, when Walking Dead hit I was like, that's the guy from Boondock Saints, because I hadn't seen him in anything else.
See, I went, oh, that's the guy from Blade 2.
So I have to give the props to casting the right actors for this movie, and the actors elevate the material because the material is not good. From a filmmaking point of view. So a little bit of background here. Troy Duffy, he was born and raised in Boston. He moved out to LA to pursue a music career with his band. They were called The Brood. He was working at a bar called Jay Sloan's, and everyone in LA has a script that they're writing. And so he was no different. He was one of these guys who no training in writing, no storytelling background or anything like that. He's just writing a script. And he eventually passes the script on to a friend of his who works at, I think it was Paramount or something like that. But the script starts circulating, and all of a sudden there's a bidding war over it. And Harvey Weinstein comes in, and he kind of courts Troy Duffy, because this is around the time that, you know, Weinstein's discovering Tarantino and Robert Rodriguez and all these independent filmmakers. And so the script is generating enough buzz where Weinstein wants to add this guy to his stable. And so he makes him an offer. He's like, I'll give you $400,000 to write and direct this movie, and I'll buy this bar that you're working at, and we'll co-own it, and you can run it together. And, you know, we'll also let your band do the soundtrack.
And it goes for straight to his head.
Well, his head was already there.
Yeah.
So Troy Duffy agrees to this, and basically, if you watch the Overnight documentary, it's supposed to be like a playoff of Overnight Success. And Troy Duffy is your typical narcissistic personality disorder. Like I met so many people in Hollywood just like this guy. But one of the things that really bugs me about him is that, you know, he's a wannabe musician and a wannabe filmmaker. And in my experience, you can't be both. You can't be a rock star and a movie maker. You have to be one or the other. You have to choose something a passion that you have, and go straight forward with it.
And that's one of the things that he like hammers in during the documentaries. Like he's like, nobody has it ever achieved in the history of history. No one's ever achieved this success as both a film maker and a rock star.
Frustratingly egotistical.
Oh my gosh.
And I couldn't, and that's why I had to stop watching it. I'm like, I love this movie. And maybe it's not perfect. I don't really care, because the characters in it are so endearing to me that I love watching it. So like for me, hearing the backstory and hearing the turmoil that happened behind the scenes and hearing who Troy Duffy may or may not actually be as a real person, I was just like, I can't, dude. I can't do it.
This is why they say you should never meet your heroes.
Exactly, yeah.
Because like, I mean, I think Vader and I have probably a lot of similar experiences that we've worked on the Las Vegas Strip. We've been in customer service, and I've worked on lots of famous people, and I hate it. I like, there's always, whenever a famous person will come into the spa, I used to work in a spa. Whenever a famous person would come into the spa, there'd just be hordes of therapists that'll be like, I want to work on him. I want to work on him. I want to work on him. And I was the last person, because I never want to meet my heroes.
Yeah, never meet your heroes.
I never want you to ruin my idealization of you with yourself.
Yeah, Troy Duffy.
I have stories.
And I never want to meet Quentin Tarantino.
Yeah. Yeah, Troy Duffy to me was just a name on the credits of this movie. Like I don't have any problems personally with the guy, but like watching that documentary really turned me off to this movie. And I didn't want that to happen, because this movie holds a special place for me.
Well, getting back to my point. So in the documentary, you have Troy Duffy basically bragging about how, oh, I never went to film school. I never, you know, took a class on how to write screenplays. This is all raw talent. This is all me. and you know, I'm watching that, and I'm like, well, the fact that you didn't go to film school or learn how to, you know, write is evident in this movie, because there's so many like just basic like this script needed so much more development than it got before it got made, because originally Miramax was going to give him $15 million to make this movie. And Troy Duffy, like as soon as he signed that deal, like he just went off. Like he was one of those guys who was pulling power plays, because like, you know, my shit don't stink. You know, if you want this, you have to, you know, bend to my you know, my demands.
I think he says something like, you have to lick every individual inch of my balls if you want to like get into a meeting with me, or something like that.
Something like that. But he basically, he was so hard-headed and narcissistic that he turned off all the executives at Miramax, to the point where they just stopped taking his phone calls. And, you know, the big thing was that when they were casting the movie, so he was going out, he was meeting with all these different actors.
Like Patrick Swayze and
stuff. Well, he was like, fuck Keanu Reeves. Like, that guy's a talentless hack. I'll never work with him. You know, he was just bad-mouthing all these actors.
Wow.
And the straw that broke the camel's back in terms of Miramax was he went out to meet with Ewan McGregor, because Ewan McGregor was originally going to be one of the brothers. And
I could see that.
I definitely could see that. Yeah.
Miramax had a relationship with him, and so he flew out to I think it was New York to visit with Ewan McGregor, and they went out drinking together. And while he was out, he got drunk and started arguing with Ewan McGregor over the death penalty. And he was just so abrasive that Ewan McGregor called up Harvey Weinstein and was like, I'm never going to work with this guy you know, you need to get away from him. And so that's when they start pulling out of the deal that they had with Troy Duffy. And in the documentary, you can see like the slow progression of like, you know, him basically self-destructing.
Troy Duffy.
Has he made any other movies?
Boondock Saints too.
Yeah.
The
That's
second
it?
one. Yeah.
Because I was going to say, I've never heard
I
of
want to
this
say
dude.
there was like a TV show or something.
He was trying to get a Boondock Saints TV show off the ground. And then that morphed into a third movie called Boondock Saints Requiem or something like that.
Okay.
But Sean
Did that happen?
No.
Well, what happened was Sean Patrick Flannery and Norman Reedus both came out and said that there was some unethical stuff going on and they would no longer be associated with the Boondock Saints.
That makes sense.
And so like they never elaborated on it, but it's pretty clear that Troy Duffy did something that pissed them both off. And so like they just decided to cut ties with him. But regardless of that, this movie is a mess in terms of like structure, in terms of like character development, in terms of so many different things. Like it's well shot. It's kind of like the poor man's Guy Ritchie style.
That's exactly what I was thinking by the time this was over.
I think that's fair.
Yeah. And Troy Duffy gets incensed if you compare him to Guy Ritchie. He's like, I'm more Tarantino, man.
It's very much the same genre, though.
But so like the acting in this movie is really what saves it, in my opinion. But there's so many like things where like if the script had been properly developed and written by someone who actually knew what they were doing, it could have been much better. The problem is like there's a lot of pacing issues. There's a lot of things where what was the character's name? Rocco?
Yeah.
Okay. So at the end of the movie, he gets murdered. He dies. And it's supposed to be like this big emotional scene, but like he's a scumbag. He's the type of guy that the Saints are supposed to be killing. And so like when that death happens, like you as an audience member, you don't really care about him.
I cared very much. What are you talking about? He's their best friend.
Okay.
I thought he was a bit of a psychopath.
He was just a bag man.
He's a loose cannon and a buffoon.
Yeah.
But
They loved him.
The point I'm trying to make is that there's a point in the movie where he gets double crossed by the mob that he's with, and like they had sent him to go do a hit where it was a setup where he was going to get killed, and that's kind of what turns him against like his mob bosses. Yeah. But so he recommends that they go after this guy who's like a hitman for the mob, and he killed like this whole family, and you see it in a flashback. And they go to this guy's house and they kill everyone in his house, and then the hitman that they went to go kill was in the bathroom, a very Tarantino type thing. Mm-hmm. And he comes out and he starts like wrestling with Rocco, and the Saints are just there and they're kind of laughing and they're saying like, hey, you're the one who needs to kill this guy. And he ends up killing him. And that's that. And so a properly developed and structured story would have, before we first meet Rocco in the bar at the beginning of the movie, we'd see him go out on this hit. We'd see him witness the death of this family, how it affects him. And he goes to the bar to kind of, drink away his trauma. And throughout the movie, like we see him in a sympathetic light because he was really affected by what happened to his family. And when he decides to join up with the Saints, he's like, we have to go after this guy because this is the only way I can deal with my trauma. And so when he murders that hitman, that's the completion of an arc where basically he gets revenge for that family that the guy killed, and he's able to kind of redo his trauma. But
oh man, that does sound good.
Instead of that, we get this horrible character who tells racist jokes, who threatens the women that he's staying with, kills a cat, frickin' tries to kill the FBI.
The cat scene was epic.
Tries to kill the FBI agent and a priest. Like the character is just not redeemable.
That's what
at all.
is so charming about him.
It's not charming.
It is. That's exactly what makes Rocco Rocco.
I don't know, man.
You could have made him an actual sympathetic character where his death at the end of the movie actually meant something.
I still felt like it. It meant something to me because Rocco was just that lovable buffoon. No, he doesn't do anything.
He's not
right.
lovable.
He is very lovable. You're gonna get a lot of hate if you don't think Rocco's lovable, dude.
I don't know if he's that lovable,
dude. He's freaking. They're in the middle of that freaking.
I feel like he's like the third wheel clown show that attaches himself to the.
I'm the guy.
Brothers.
I know addresses. I know phone numbers. I know who they're screwing. I know where they live.
There's also the issue where
I get it.
Where basically William Dafoe's character, like every time he goes to a crime scene in this movie, we see the lead up to what happens with the Boondock Saints, where they're about to go do something. Then we fade to black. then the police
aftermath.
officers come in and kind of go through the aftermath, and then we see what happens as the police officers piece it together. And this happens like 3 or 4 times throughout the course of the movie, and it's terrible for pacing. But in addition to that, a well-structured, well-written screenplay would have stuck with either the brothers or the FBI agent as a main character, and we would have continued to follow the FBI agent and have him kind of break down each crime scene and have him be the main character, with the Saints as kind of like the background characters that we get exposed to as the FBI agent does.
It would have been boring.
No, like it could have been done right, but the thing is that what I'm trying to say here is that Troy Duffy is just like, he was so inexperienced as a filmmaker and a storyteller when he made this movie, that this movie could have been 10 times better than it actually ended up being.
I feel like you're kind of right.
And well, I know I'm right.
Yeah.
Shut up. He's not right. The movie
has never known
the
himself to be
movie
wrong.
is what it is
It is
because
what it is.
of what it is. You don't understand?
I do.
Like, that's a weird drunken statement to say, but the movie is successful
look.
because of the charm that it has and because of the inexperience that went into it. Maybe it's not cinematically perfect and written well, but
like
But
whenever
I never
that-
felt
the
anything-
idea that-
I never felt anything for that character.
the Willem Dafoe character that comes in and like pieces together everything, and then it's intercut with what happens, and then as he starts to learn more about the Saints, he ends up in the last one where he's dissecting what happens with the Duke. He comes in and you can see Willem Dafoe talking about what happens while it's happening. I think that's the most unique and genius way
yes, but that
of
could-
showing off what happened.
that could have been done better is what I'm saying. And the fact that, like,
Because you're perfect at everything, and everything you made would have been
it's not that
perfect.
I'm perfect. It's that, like, I'm able to break this down objectively and tell you about the mistakes that were made. Like,
I don't think it's a
like-
mistake. I
like-
think it's a
like-
stylistic
like
choice.
Ildus being the Saint's father, like, out of nowhere, he's introduced like halfway through the second act of the movie,
Yeah.
and he's supposed to be this hitman for the mob, and someone that everyone in the mob is scared of because he's committed so many atrocities. And then it's like, oh, he's the dad that taught them the prayer, and they didn't know it until he showed up and tried to kill them. Like, it was all very out of left field, and it wasn't properly set up. But
I just found out that was their father.
exactly. Like when I was in Hollywood and someone told me that Boondock Saints was their all-time favorite movie, I lost so much respect for them because of that.
Okay,
And-
I understand your frustrations with it, because this is something that you know a lot about. It's like when any one of us watches a movie and the movie is about something that you do for a living and you're like, they're not doing it right. So I get it, Kadish.
Well, I'm not saying that it's an unenjoyable movie, because obviously there are a lot of people out there that enjoy this film. And I'm saying that there are aspects to it that are good and have the potential to be amazing. But it was because of the lack of experience and expertise that the filmmaker had in making this movie that it doesn't, in my book, achieve that type of height.
I wonder why you don't hold Peter Jackson to that same standard with Bad Taste.
Well, Bad Taste, I feel, is a very innovative film and unique, and it had a very specific voice to it. Like,
I think you're biased.
well, Troy Duffy had $6 million to make this movie.
Mm.
Peter Jackson had like what,
I'm
300,000?
just
200,
busting your
yeah.
balls,
$12.
babe.
200,000.
Yeah.
No,
I think this movie is just one of those kind of he got lucky on his first time out kind
Yeah.
of thing.
I agree.
Beginner's luck. I'm okay with
And
saying
I,
that.
I enjoyed this movie. I was like, I know you're attached to that character, whatever his name is, the third wheel guy. What is it?
Rocco.
Rocco.
Yeah.
I like Rocco too. Don't get me wrong. I think he's a fun character. I don't feel anything for Rocco. I didn't care when he died.
Continued the joke.
I just, you
That
know,
scene was so freaking funny.
yeah. I mean, he's a good character. He's
Yeah.
fun. You know, everybody in this movie is a good character, and they all have their roles. And I enjoyed it for that aspect. You know, I had no problem watching this movie. You know, it wasn't a movie that I turned on and it felt like it took me 6 hours to get through. I turned it on, I watched it, and it was over. And I go, oh wow, it was
This
good,
movie is
you
a
know?
collection of small moments
Yeah,
that
maybe.
are enjoyable,
Mhm.
but overall as a movie, it's very poorly made in my opinion. And you know, one of the interesting things about this film is how it failed. You know,
I don't know.
I think you're being-
I don't know if I agree with you. If it was poorly made. I never felt like I was watching a poor movie here.
Yeah, I mean, we just got done talking about the Bruce Willis movie Breach.
Mm-hmm.
That movie was
was poorly made, poorly acted, poorly directed, poorly structured. I don't get that feeling from this movie. This movie is a ton of fun.
This movie's worse because it has so many elements that could have been amazing.
No, can't take you seriously anymore. You're saying this is worse than Breach?
Well, Breach is just straight up bad. This movie has elements to it that could have been brilliant, but because of the mismanagement of it,
how does that make
ends up being more disappointing?
So
no, I disagree.
I get what you're saying. However, for me, the test for me is if I watch a movie and would I kill myself if I had to watch it again?
Yeah.
I watched this and then the next day before you told me we had to watch it again, I was like, yeah, I'd probably watch that again. I didn't think it was terrible. Was it for me? No, but it was enjoyable. And then I watched it again and now I'm good.
Now I can say that I will agree with you on one thing. You said the acting saves this movie 100%. The acting, every single character, even the small characters, the 3 Boston cops are amazing to go up against Willem Dafoe's FBI agent.
They even had a little bit of an arc.
Oh yeah, for sure. They were a ton of fun.
That's one of the things that Kadish has said before is like when you are working with a really talented actor, the director doesn't have that much to do. And maybe that is what saved this movie is that Troy Duffy was such an inexperienced director. He didn't have to do much with his actors because they were great.
Yeah. They played off each other really well.
And that's one thing I will say that he did absolutely right is how he cast this movie.
Yeah. The casting is amazing.
I like what you said about whether you'd watch it again because if my wife didn't watch this with me, but if she came up and said, "Hey, I want to watch this Boondock Saints movie," I wouldn't have any issues watching this again with her.
It's so much fun.
And, a movie like Breach, like we reviewed earlier.
Oh, I've never watched that movie ever again.
I never want to even utter its name out of my mouth.
I'm the same with Creepazoids. Like I never want to see that freaking.
I think that we're all at different levels with this movie. You love this movie. We're like, yeah, it was okay, and he hates it. So that's a well-rounded review right there.
And that's okay too. That's okay too.
I don't know of anybody else who hates this movie.
I don't understand the like devotion to this movie some people have
because it has charm.
I don't have any devotion to it.
It has a charm to it that you will never find in any other movie.
So you need to break up with Alex now because he loves it.
We've already broken up.
I mean, like I don't mind people who like bad movies. I'm just saying that like this movie. It fails on so many different levels that I don't understand the adoration some people have for it.
I don't like your criticism of it from a technical standpoint. Sure. From a technical standpoint, sure. Maybe it's not perfect. Maybe it's not put together the way you would want to put it together as a perfect movie. But I think the imperfections about it is what makes me love it so much. I don't care that the Duke was never set up as to be their father.
I mean, like if you just take the opening of this movie where you're talking about the Glee football coach lady at the meatpacking plant, like I was telling Jude, if this movie had been turned into like a film school professor, like just that opening scene where basically you're interrupting a scene by establishing shots of Boston with credits and stuff like that. The filmmaking professor would have said like, dude, what are you doing? This is not how you edit an opening scene.
I did feel like that was a little awkward.
Yeah, it was very awkward. And also like little things like, for instance, using the same font that you're using for the credits for the text that pops up when you're introducing a character. Because like when Rocco first comes in, it gives you his name and like what mafia boss he's associated with and all that stuff. And it's in the same font as the font for the credits that were rolling.
I get what he's saying.
Just there.
Are you fucking kidding me?
No.
The font is the same as the credits, so it's a bad movie. Get the fuck out of here.
It's an amateur mistake.
That is some bullshit nitpicking nonsense.
It is.
Freaking font. Come on, dude. You can come up with better criticisms than that.
Well, it just goes to show because like most people kind of overlook the credits. And so when you have important information about a character pop up on screen and it looks like the credits, people don't notice it and they miss that information.
The opening credits was just a short introduction to the two brothers' relationship.
But
they're brothers
you could have skipped out all that stuff and you wouldn't have missed anything.
No, I disagree. The relationship that they establish in those, 1 minute, 2 minute credit sequence where the brothers are the type of brothers who mess with each other in ways that most people will get pissed about, but they love each other for it. And, they have that's the relationship that they have.
I think you and me need to go up there.
I'm so I'm done.
I was like, these guys are going to get
I'm done talking about this.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm having fun.
Can we do final thoughts now?
Yeah, we can do final thoughts. I'm having fun, guys. Come on. All right.
Come on.
Come on, guys. I'm sorry. No, I'm having a good time. This is great.
What's your final thoughts, Salty?
I think the flaws that Kadish is pointing out is what makes this movie what it is. That's all I can say about it. Like, I can't say he's wrong, because from a technical standpoint, from the filmmaker's standpoint, sure, yeah, there's some nonsense going on. Characters aren't always that developed. The Deuce coming in as their father is literally out of left field. Yeah. But I think that's what gives it its charm. That's what people like about this movie. Is it doesn't follow those freaking same old boring formulas that every screenwriter ever learned in college.
And you're at a 5, like you said earlier. Right?
5 out of 5.
Yeah, I've already given it 5 out of 5.
What about you, Jude? What do you think?
I give it a 3 out of 5 pennies on the eyes.
3 out of 5. You got any last comments you want to say?
No.
Okay.
Vader? Right. I'm gonna go 3.5. I totally understand what Matt's saying here because the font thing, that's kind of stretching it, bro.
Come on, dude.
But I do get it. I understand what he's saying. But I enjoyed this movie. I did. I like these characters. I understand your affection for this movie. You watched this movie at a very
pivotal moment,
time in your life, and it affected you, and that's cool. That's awesome. That was Indiana Jones era for me when I'm at that same age. And I like this movie.
I can't get over you in this wig, dude.
I know. I look fabulous.
I can't take it.
I'm either really fabulous or I look fucking metal. Yeah, I can't tell which one it is. But 3.5 stars for me.
Okay.
Matt, take us home, buddy. What do you got?
This is a 1-star movie for me.
That's he's allowed.
Okay.
He's allowed.
Hey, send your hate mail to Matthew Kadish.
I wouldn't
KADISH.
I wouldn't call it a 1-star crap fest, because like I said, there are elements to this movie that are genuinely good and have the potential to be great. Unfortunately, that potential was never realized. And, everything was against this movie. Like, even when they went to Cannes to try to sell this film out after, it got produced, Columbine happened. And so anyone in black trench coats with guns killing people unapologetically was a no-go. And so, like, that was one of the reasons why they couldn't get a distribution deal. And that's one of the reasons why they ended up going into 5 theaters, in the States. And so, like, the fact that this movie has lived on as long as it has, even though I think it's not a good movie, is a testament to, I guess it speaks to a certain kind of person that likes this type of film. That's not me. I feel like if I didn't know what I know about Troy Duffy, I'd probably enjoy this movie more.
Yeah.
But
that's why I stopped watching that documentary. I was like, nope.
And I think I see why. Sorry.
I was just thinking sometimes you don't want to know that stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think I see why you are so frustrated, Kadish, with the movie, because I hear you saying, like, there are elements to it that could have been brilliant. And watching the documentary, you see that Troy Duffy thinks that he is already there and he's brilliant. And it's a masterpiece. And then seeing it from the perspective of you having gone to film school and like how you do things and how you think that things should be done right. Like, I can see your frustration.
Is there a bit of,
but I think it's overblown based on how you how much you know about the director, because he thinks he's so great. It's not some first-time director who's like, I did the best I could, guys, hope you like it. It's not endearing like that. It's some asshole who's like, I'm the greatest.
Yeah.
And now you want to like
nitpick
all of those mistakes.
It's not just that, because there are so many people in Hollywood.
I'm trying to defend you.
I know what I'm saying is that there are lots of people in Hollywood who are assholes, but they have the talent to back it up. Troy Duffy literally had the world handed to him on a silver platter.
Yeah, and he threw it all away.
He destroyed it and
was ungrateful for it while he had it.
Yeah, and so, like, that type of thing, like, kind of really turns me off. Like, I can dislike an act, like, for instance, Alec Baldwin. I don't like him as a person, but I think he's brilliant as an actor, and I enjoy watching him on TV or in different roles and stuff like that. If I thought that this movie was actually brilliant or well made, and Troy Duffy, even though he's a complete asshole, made a good movie, I'd be like, okay, I don't like Troy Duffy, but, he put his money where his mouth was. I just don't feel like he's succeeded in making a good movie. And the fact that he's only been able to scrape together a sequel in his career, to this film that wasn't good at all. And even the people who were bananas over Boondock Saints didn't like the second one.
Yeah, as a huge fan of the first one, the sequel, although fun, really fell short. Like, so if that's Troy Duffy showing off like what he can do when he actually gets handed like a second chance, definitely fell short.
And I don't feel like I'm gonna have to watch that movie.
You don't have to. Really, just leave this one as it is.
There's even a scene in the documentary where he's at Boston College or Boston University, which is actually a place that I applied to go to the film school because Boston University has a great film school. And he was meeting with like the film students there. And they were all like, hey, man, you made this cool movie, Boondock Saints. And he's just sitting there. It's like, shut up. You don't know what you're talking about. Like, Hollywood sucks. Everyone sucks. Yeah, he was basically just like bad-mouthing all of them.
And like, I think one of the people in the audience was like, I'm trying to compliment you, man.
And he's like, you still don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
And it was just like such an
I get it, man. I get it. I really do. Like, Troy Duffy's not the person you want to be freaking hanging out with all the time.
But long and short of it is, I don't feel like this movie is a good movie at all. And I've watched it, I think, like 5 or 6 times now. And each time I watch it, I keep finding more and more stuff to criticize about it. And
you feel more violated every time you watch it.
I do. And when I found out that Alex was going to make me watch it, I just had to roll my eyes and I was like, oh, God.
That's how we feel every week when you're like, let's watch this Netflix original piece of shit.
It's funny because the more and more times I watch this movie, the more I find I love it. Because the characters are what I love. The story structure, you can say whatever you want about it. It's vigilantes going out and killing bad guys.
I will say that the characters are what kind of saved the film, but the writing, the filmmaking, the story structure, like all the elements that could have taken these great characters and told a fantastic story aren't there for me. And I don't take away from people who like this movie. I just feel that, it's one of the movies that I would never willingly watch on my own.
You heard it here.
So what we learned today is that we all have different tastes in movies.
Yes. Imagine that. That's kind of what we're here for, right?
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah, I definitely think that I have a rule that even if I love a movie, I don't ever say that it's like, oh, it's perfect. Oh, this is amazing.
Unless it's Raiders of the Lost Ark.
That's a perfect movie.
Perfect.
No, but I'm just like, for people like Kadish who wouldn't analyze and like nitpick things, like it's fine. Like no movie's perfect. You're going to be able to find faults in everything. The thing is like when you're watching a movie, do you enjoy it? Did you have a good time watching? Are you entertained? Like the scene from Gladiator. Are you not entertained?
Yeah.
Isn't this not what you were here for?
I was entertained watching this movie.
I'm entertained.
Kadish went to film school. He was not. Troy Duffy is a gigantic ass. And I think that's what we got out of this movie.
That's it.
Yeah.
That's the short and skinny of it.
Woo! Hey, thanks everybody for joining us for the birthday celebration of Salty Nerd.
Happy birthday, my friend.
Where Kadish just shits all over my movie picks.
Hey, he liked that.
No, listen. We love and hate each other.
I seem to remember you guys shitting on my birthday.
Yes, we definitely did.
You are banned, sir.
We all uniformly hate each other's movies.
You're banned for a month.
That's what makes this podcast so much fun, is that we're never in agreement unless it's like some crazy off the wall 10 out of 10.
Unless we're hating on Breach.
Yeah. I think we've all agreed on like 2 different movies.
Monster Hunter.
And I think that's it.
Monster Hunter was
Monster
shit.
Hunter and
Outside
Breach.
the Wire.
Outside the Wire shit.
Yeah.
Terrible.
All right, guys. Hey, that's it for today's podcast. Thank you so much for joining us. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you're listening on YouTube, or if you're listening on the Apple Podcast, leave us a 5-star review. We definitely appreciate it. Thank you very much. Leaving off the podcast, I am so off the wall on this freaking Irish whiskey that I can't even talk right now. Vader, where can they find you on the socials?
You can call me and tell me I'm pretty. I'm kind of like a 3 sheets.
Okay,
too.
Real quick.
Tout le more do.
Before we leave, a reminder for the people who are listening to this podcast that there's a video podcast on YouTube that you guys can watch, and you can see Matt Vader, the master of the nerds, wearing a platinum blonde wig with his 3D glasses on.
I like metal as hell.
It is the most Vader I've ever seen him. So please go to our YouTube channel and subscribe so that you can see the gloriousness. Is that a word?
Right.
Sure.
It is now. Yeah, it is now.
All right, Jude, where can they find you?
You can find me at IamJudeJuju on Instagram and Twitter, and you can check me out on my website, thevoiceofjude.com.
Thank you very much. Matthew Kadish, producer of the show, most hardworking nerd that I know. That rhymed.
Most shat upon man today.
Oh my God. He hates the Boondock Saints, guys.
Yeah. So if you want to send me hate mail, you can do so at
My
Matthew.
home address is.
Yeah, you can send me. You can catch me on
I
Twitter.
live here too. Please don't send hate
Stop
mail.
interrupting me, jeez. I'm trying to get through this. At Matthew Kadish, Kadish, on Twitter, and kadishbooks.com on Amazon.
As always, thank you very much. We appreciate you guys listening to us. And
I'm at Matt Vader 74, by the way.
you didn't say that?
At Twitter, YouTube, and Instagram. No, I didn't say it.
He just talked about how pretty he was.
Just talked about how pretty I am right now. Thanks, everybody, for watching.
I know it's hard when you're a pretty girl to remember details like that.
I'm not a pretty girl.
You put a blonde wig on him and he's a dumb blonde all of a sudden.
Right.
All right, guys. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Go to saltynerdclub.com, become a patron, or, just hang out with us on YouTube. That's cool. Stay salty, my friends.